Roadies. The mysterious allure of a gruff figure dressed in black. Believe it or not, roadies do more than push cases. They also yell at you for setting your drink near them. Sometimes for looking at them. Sometimes for existing in their space at all. Renowned for delivering the toughest scowls to concert attendees for no reason. Roadies have all access passes. Not just backstage, but seemingly all over the world. Behind-the-scenes experts at concerts, events, and even the presidential address. Roadies sometimes travel the road with a band on tour, but many live among us working day jobs at conference centers, equipment rental houses, and local production companies. Sound, lights, video, elaborate stage sets, and more. Roadies design what you see, hear, and feel. They put it all together, operate it, tear it down, and do it all over again. My guest today is one of these roadies, but don't you dare call him one. He prefers the name production manager. He's worked with some of the biggest artists and companies all over the world, from rock bands Jane's Addiction, Green Day, Offspring, Dawes, and even a mattress giant, Simmons Mattress. But enough from me. Let's get into it. Ever wanted to start up a conversation with someone new and interesting? You're in luck. I'm doing it for you. You're listening to One on One. Good morning, good afternoon, good day. I'm your host, Elijah Mora. You're listening to One on One. I'm here today with my special guest, Chris Warndahl, District Manager of Texas Miller Pro AVL, a full-service production house serving the U.S. with sound, light, staging, backline, and more. Chris, so I've known you for
about 12 years.
Yeah,
now.
a long time now. We've known each other. We've done shows together, even on consoles back in the day. I think we've mixed some shows together and whatnot. For everybody out there, Chris is in the production industry, so in the event industry, specializing in sound, lights, videos. I know he's been on a ton of tours, worked with a ton of artists. So, Chris, tell me a little bit about, just elaborate more on that, who you are, what you do now.
What I do now is I run, as you said, Miller Pro Audio, and currently I'm managing two offices, both Dallas and Austin, trying to push us into a kind of a new area.
We're in Dallas right now, which you're kind of floating in between, but you live in Austin.
Yes.
So how long have you been in Austin?
I've been in Austin for about that time we've known each other, 12 years.
Okay.
And I was in Corpus for 3 years before that.
Okay.
And I was freelancing for Miller back then when we first met.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So where are you from originally?
I'm from Los Angeles, California.
Born and raised there most of your life?
Yeah, I was actually born in a little beach town called Newport Beach. Great place to grow up. I went to elementary school on the sand.
Okay.
I would surf before school and stash my surfboard underneath a lifeguard stand.
Okay.
Get busted at lunch, third grade.
Are you pretty good at surfing?
Huh?
Are you pretty good at surfing?
I was, yeah.
Yeah? Do you still surf at all anymore?
Behind my boat, yeah. I do some wake surfing.
Okay.
I'll show you some funny videos when we're done here.
So we're going to kind of break it down to just from the beginning. So what's your family like? Mom, dad, what did they do for a career? Was music in the business? Was it in the family or?
No. Dad was a bartender at the local bar, turned into a bookie.
Okay.
So if you want to bet a football game, I know all about that.
So side hustle. Yeah.
Little side work.
Hey, okay.
And mom was a waitress, 3 jobs back in the day in the 70s. You could do that. And I remember her going to school. She would be waitressing 3 jobs, taking care of 3 kids on her own, no dad's around, and would put herself through school and became a fairly successful mortgage broker.
There was no daycare back then.
There's the beach.
You just go hang out over there.
Daycare was a good neighborhood, and neighbors watching out for each other way back then,
So high school, where'd you go to high school?
Newport Harbor High, just up there on the bluff in Newport Beach. When I left there, I went to Orange Coast College on to Cal State Dominguez Hills, which got me up into L.A.
Gotcha.
But as I couldn't get a decent job. And
what was your first job? Like what was
promoting little bands and working at a pawn shop.
How did you get into music? Like what inspired you? Said, hey, I want to work in this. I'm sure you were in
1984.
Okay.
So 1984, I get a call. Buddy's got an extra concert ticket to a Depeche Mode concert.
Okay.
At Irvine Meadows.
Okay.
And we're lawn tickets. I mean, total nosebleed. And back then, before fire marshals and all these people worried about how 15,000 people would get out of a venue, it would take you 2 hours to walk out. And I watched. The concert was amazing. I mean, it's just like first time I'd ever seen a concert. I'm 11 years old.
Yeah.
This is the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And then, dude, I see this magic happen. And after the last song, 50 dudes on deck, just tearing all this cool set down, all this stuff. And I just thought, man, I would love to do that one day. And that venue later on becomes pretty important in my life. Anyway, I saw that was my first thing. And so music took on this magic moment, bought all the records and went through, it was Depeche Mode, The Cure,
Gotcha.
Audio Vox, all that 80s, classic stuff now. But I was all about that stuff. And there was real magic behind what I would see. And you'd see the videos. And I started going to concerts and then started hanging out with friends' bands. And they all wanted gigs and didn't know how to get gigs. So I made gigs, coffee shop. Got the special events division at my high school to do a lunchtime concert. I got just started becoming involved in this stuff. House parties at back when we could have backyard parties and kegers and be underage.
Yeah,
and all
house
that.
shows. House parties.
Getting all that happening.
Yeah, and
not really making any money, but just kind of becoming that guy. And then it was one of those bands played the local big club. Trying to remember what the place was called. The Roadhouse down in San Juan Capistrano.
Okay, is it still there?
It's still there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I've played a bunch of concerts there as a professional.
Okay.
But I got to tear down his bass rig. I thought, oh man,
this is it.
That was it. That was it.
Yeah.
And they got paid, I think, $100, and there was 8 of us, and I got whatever that 8th was as my pay for the night. Oh man.
Yeah, that's it. This is where I want to be. So did you ever think about going into the studio side, or it was always like I want to do live stuff?
No, it was the live thing. It was that magic of the moment. That 1984 I saw. Everything goes back to 1984.
So you get in, you're a stagehand / loader at this club. In what year was that?
That was I want to say 89, right before I graduated high school.
Okay, so 5 years after Depeche Mode concert changes your life.
Well, that was one thing, and doing all this little stuff. So I don't know if you remember, but there was the first car CD player.
Okay.
And this is how I actually got my first real job. So the thing was like this. Had my 1978 Volkswagen Rabbit, and we're going to the all ages goth club.
Okay.
And it's me and like 6 people and a little rabbit.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're heading up there. And I mean, there can't be more than 15 other people in this place, but I think it's the coolest thing. I've never been to a club. Well, I'd done that one thing, but I'm going to this dance club, and we're going to do this stuff, and the girls are in the car, and we're all having this fun, and everybody's getting ready at somebody's house.
Yeah.
We get there, and I don't know, we got there early. It's 10:30, but by 11 o'clock, one of the girls knows Bart, who's the DJ. His turntable goes down. He can't finish the night. I mean, the club is just shut down. And one of the girls says, hey, my buddy's got this car CD player. Man, I only owned 5 CDs, but I helped Bart hook it up.
Do you know what those were?
Bauhaus, Depeche Mode, The Cure. I want to say probably a couple 80s synth bands. I don't remember.
I'm just sidetracking. How much did the CD player cost? And how much were the CDs?
Dude, the CDs back then, and we're talking $1989, $25, and I spent $199 on that. And the worst part is I had to put a cassette deck for another $150 into the Volkswagen.
So you had the combo. You could do either, just in or out.
Oh, yeah. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And that's when the CDs came in the big cardboard. And you just had the CD up here, the CD in the case. But it came in this big contraption.
A lot of things people don't know, too, about CDs is when they came out early and got adopted is that nobody was actually mastering 4 CDs until 94, 95. So they would just take whatever came off a tape and just throw it straight onto the CD. And it wasn't until they realized that, hey, we can do this differently. It wasn't until it.
And I still have that 1988 copy of the 1984 Depeche Mode CD. Still my favorite record, by the way.
Okay, so DJ's shit goes down.
Yeah.
And
so he says, hey, man, how much you want for your CD player? And I said, well, it's not for sale. And he's, no, rent it. And I said, well, I don't really care. Just let me do this with you.
Yeah.
So I sat up there at DJ, and he said, man, you're a cool kid. Why don't you hang out? See you next Friday. Come next Friday, the club meets me, and I'm doing whatever, man. I'm sweeping the floor. I'm hooking up the stuff.
Yeah.
This is my gig.
Yeah.
And I'm into it. So the club owner says, hey, man, you want to work tomorrow night too? And I said, yeah, doing what? He said, doing sound. Okay, whatever that means. And I actually, this old PM1000, one vocal mic. And that was my first sound gig the next night. So through this club, and this club is now Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles, Long Beach, California. Used to be called Toe Jams.
That's a better name. Is Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles for sure.
So if you got any listeners in Long Beach, if they go by that Roscoe's, that's what we're talking about. So I don't know. I worked there for a couple of months, and I kind of just became the kicking boy. I do sound. I DJ Friday nights. Me and Bart started guest DJing at other venues. Then my life changes. This guy, Doc, a good friend of mine who just passed away 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago now, he comes in with this band called December Flowers, and oh man, this is a big show, and I actually promoted this show. I hired the band, I got the flyers out. This is where I start playing around with different avenues of working in the business. And Doc comes in, and man, he knows all about this PM1000. I've only been doing 2 or 3 vocal mics. Dude, we mic'd the whole band. And I mean, oh man, all 10 channels of that band. And he was so impressed by my work ethic. He called, we exchanged numbers, and I think this guy's too cool for me. Long black hair. He's got he's total gothed out industrial guy, knows everybody in town. Me and him start talking the next morning. He calls me up and says, man, a guy just quit. You want to make $100? And I said, man, do I? I had to drive all the way to LA. At that time, it was about an hour drive. Drove up there. Me and him went and did this gig. And we became best friends, and up until the day he passed. But I had rode his coattails through so many situations that we just kind of came up together. But we went and worked for, you remember, you've met Ed, the old guy that comes around once in a while?
Ed Cerno,
First sound company I ever worked for. And we were, man, just the gigs were so brutal.
I feel like they always are. Like, I'm sure any industry that you come up in, if you're really trying to get it, it's just like, you just got to be put through the ringer. So
that's the quick and dirty of how I kind of came up. And then working for Ed, that's my first year of college by this point. Last year of high school into my first year of college. And running up to Ed's place all the time was wearing on me. And that's when I caught that side gig at the pawn shop. So I was still doing a couple gigs with Ed and working the pawn shop and just trying to be normal college guy. Get this out of the way so I get the degree. Well,
so what was your major?
Social psychology.
I
had a real interest in how to, we're the melting pot that I still don't think quite works right. And I wanted to. That's why chose Cal State Dominguez Hills. Because of the diversity. I mean, I was in Orange County, dude. I mean, even to this day, it's not, it's fairly white down there. I hate to call it out like that, but go to Dominguez Hills next to Long Beach and Compton and LA and all that. Man, the diversity and the educated diversity and just dudes from all walks of life just wanting to be better. And wanting to hang out together. There's the melting pot. And talking about social situations, because then was the Rodney King beatings. The LA riots. And, here I am in this big mix thing, and I'm driving through. One of my biggest promoted concerts was Cadillac Tramps' Social Distortion Cadillac Tramps and that was Pennywise headlining the night of the riots. And that was the first night it started. We're down in Santa Ana, California, still throwing this punk rock show.
Did you plan the social psychology? Was that really just for your own personal development, or did you think maybe I want to be a social worker one day or anything of that sort? Or
no, I just wanted to make change. And I wanted to make change in that. I just don't see color, and I don't see gender, and I don't see sexual preference. I don't see that in people. I just see people. And I'm thankful that was all my mom. My mom just didn't care as long as you were a good person, and that was instilled in me. And I thought somehow I wanted to see everybody think like me.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a little egocentric, but
yeah.
the driving factor was why would anybody care? You know, I don't care about those things, and I don't want anybody else, and I want us all to come together and prove it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You know, and that's coming out of a very 80s.
Yeah.
You know, we're still fairly, what's the politically correct? We're still kind of just culturally segregated.
Yeah, I think, you know, like if you look at, you know, the 60s and like I think 1967, 68 when interracial marriage was like federally abolished and, you know, desegregation and busing, you know, black kids to white schools and white kids vice versa. And also, you know, even though they were a smaller minority, you also have the Hispanic kids and the Asian kids and the Indian kids. And even though they were smaller, I feel like they don't get talked about as much as what they were doing. But what's interesting is with my grandparents is on one side, they were light-skinned enough that they got to stay at the white school.
Wow.
But on the other side, they were too dark. And actually, on my dad's side, my grandmother was light-skinned, so she got to stay, but her brother was too dark, so he had to get bused across, and he couldn't go to the white school.
Wow.
So this was before they even tried the desegregation thing. But then, you know, I think you have, you know, post-war, the Vietnam thing, everybody doesn't, you know, nobody wants that. It's all peace.
Right.
Drugs. Right. There's not a whole lot of drugs that are illegal at this point either.
Yeah.
And then in the 80s, you really have the sexual revolution, which was the whole AIDS things come out. And all of these other things. And so, there's just definitely this wave of diversity. And I think, you know, I always wonder on one hand, though, it's like, what of it is authentic, and then what of it is a trend? Because then when you look at the trends, if you're like in a southern state of, you know, whether it's Alabama or Arkansas or something like that, especially, you know, in the 80s, 90s, et cetera, they were very late to the game in, you know, in changing any of that stuff.
Dude, I dated a girl from Virginia, and I had to break it off with her just because she was a racist. I mean, I don't know what other way to put it, but we flew somewhere, and this black lady was, you know, I was in the window, she was in the aisle, and I had to change seats to make her comfortable. Yeah. And it was shortly after that trip, I just said, wow, this isn't who I am, and I can't, you know, I'm not going to do this. Yeah. And, you know, everything else about her was like perfect.
Was great, but
whoa, you know.
I'm gonna pin that. What was your first big tour, big band? I'm sure at some point you jumped ship, right, from Ed and went out with somebody.
So at the pawn shop, Ed actually talked me back in. He got me my first salary gig at $350 a week.
Ooh, okay.
But I was also able to now move to LA because I was going to Cal State Dominguez Hills, which is right there and closer to LA. So now I'm working for him. Doc has left Ed and is now working for Greg Dean, who you've met, right?
Yeah.
So Greg Dean owns No Show Sound, and they're the up-and-comer, and they're the ones that everybody talks about. So Doc's working over there. I'm working for Ed. Doc calls me up. Hey, you want to make $100? Almost like the same thing again. Yeah. Hey, come over here and work for No Show. Oh, shit, I can't tell Ed. You know, I mean, like, this was a big no-no.
Yeah,
you know,
because it's a competitor.
Right.
Yeah.
So I hop over, and they have, between being the guys in a van that we knew them as, have now jumped into buying a couple of 850s. They got some tours. This is getting to about 93, 94.
Okay, what is an 850? Just for the people that don't know. Real quick.
EAW KFA 50. It was a big touring box back in the late 80s into early 90s.
Okay.
Right before Line Arrays became...
But it was amazing at the time for the design and stuff. Like, people don't want to touch them now. But back then... For, you know, what people were coming from, it was like revolutionary. Like, that was it. That was on every rider. So, so back into that.
So they were starting to take off. And here I come in. I'm all excited. I still got that fresh energy. I see my first Whirlwind mass connector. Okay. But Ed was such a good teacher. I knew about that. I knew about a P6 and an NL8. And,
all the fundamentals.
Yeah, all these weird fundamentals that guys that were hitting them up for jobs didn't.
Yeah.
And I treated them with respect because Ed had instilled in me how much this gear cost.
Yeah.
And now I'm working with that expensive gear. And I met this other guy who comes in. He's from out of town, and his name's Roger Pigman, and he's going to go out with this PM3000. And I looked at him and said, dude, you're that good? Yeah. You know, and just floored over there. The whole shop starts laughing at me.
Yeah.
But because of that, they saw that energy that I had, and I became I became the regular guy.
Okay.
And I went from barely mixing on a PV console or a Yamaha 1604 and one stack aside PA into starting to talk about fly PA and what large companies do at large concerts and festivals. And they're at the entry level into that. You know, we were the company taking over for the old school standards, you know, the Schubert's, Delicate. You know, Claire was just starting an LA office then. A lot of cool stuff. 95, Brett did 95 Warped Tour. We came in, took the gig in 96. We kept that up until 06. So we did 10 years of Warped. We did some of Tool's first tours. We did Green Day's first tours. We did, and Greg's still with Green Day. You know, going back that far. KMFDM, Lords of Acid, King Crimson. I'm trying to think of, we did Blink-182's first tours. We did so much stuff. I can't even think of it all. And I could probably ramble on for hours at you. And all this stuff we were doing, it was a hot place to be.
But you were mostly still just doing sound at that time?
Audio only, PA tech. I was really
Were you
well
mixing
known.
or were you just like
both mixing,
just teching?
Well, you know how it is. So I was becoming a very well-known tech. Getting into 94, 95. I kind of, at my third year of college, I had my son and I was making decent money. And what am I going to do? School and these big dreams, because I was doing, we were working with Ice-T on a project where he was trying to bring Compton and Inglewood together. And, Red and Blue hugging it out. He was on the forefront of that. And trying to bring that together. And we actually did that concert. Unfortunately, it turned into a turf war. But, me and Greg were getting stuffed. We were getting stuffed into and under consoles. By security saying, "Yo, white boy, you don't want no part of this." And I forget what the guys that wear the suits. They did all the security for African American events in LA because they were the only ones who earned the respect of the community. And but it was just funny. The guy, I'm scared. I've heard gunfire. I'm from Orange County. I ain't from the hood, man. I know nothing about it. Hip hop's just coming on the scene. So I've only heard a few of the NWA stories, and I just know stuff's heavy. So the feeling of this hand on my head and pushing me under the old big Soundcraft 800B, putting me and Greg underneath. It was scary. But events like that, they were trying so hard to, here's all these guys you thought were so hard on record. And I did too. I was afraid of all these dudes. And here's Ice-T really trying to do something for the community. Ice Cube. We got to do so many cool events. I'll finish. I'll try to wrap the Greg Dean, because me and Greg Dean were together for 12 years. And there was a period where I went out. I went out with Tommy Lee. So I'm working this place called English Acid, and for any of the old metalheads back in LA, there was a very cornerstone club. And a band called 16 Volt with a buddy of mine, Craig Tyler, who's now Liquid Giraffe DJ. I didn't know him. I just knew the band. And he was just a super nice guy when he walked in. And he's a guitar player. And man, I can't make this nice guy happy in the monitors. I just can't do it. But me and him, we're hitting it off at the same time. He says, man, back in New York, I do a little mixing. You mind? I said, no, man, show me what I'm missing here. What do you got? And boom, boom, boom. And it was just he wanted a little more high end. I think he felt better than got involved. This is where I break off into more of my own person. So this is getting into 98, 99. This is after me doing 3-4 years of Warped Tour, which was just, Warped Tour. I can tell you Warped Tour stories in a second. But I do this little favor for Craig. He calls me up. He's just scored a gig with Orgy. And this is, they did the big Blue Monday hit. And they were on, I got to do Woodstock.
97? Was that when they redid it?
Was it 98, 97?
97, 98.
We're talking about such old stuff. I should have Googled some of the stuff I did back
I remember,
in the
though,
day.
like, on the news, though, it was like, whoa, it's coming back. So, and it was a shit show.
Yeah, it was. It really was. So I got to do that with those guys. But he brought me along. He was the front of house guy. So popped onto that Orgy train with him, and then we got to take, that was the first time I scored the gear on the gig. That was my big sale. And that launches me into first Orgy tour is over. He scores a gig with Tommy Lee. So, man, 3 guys were trying to do monitors for Tommy. Tommy fires all 3 guys. I'm out on Lords of Acid, and I get food poisoning on the flight. And food poisoning right before the flight. I get the call, man, Tommy's firing everybody. You need to go in and handle monitors for Tommy. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do that tour. I just don't. I've been out for 6 months. I'm so tired. I just want to come home. I got food poisoning. You got to. This is Greg. If you've worked with Greg, he can talk you into anything. So I'm sick, and I'm sitting behind the console at Tommy's place. And Craig, we call him Squirrel because he'd squirrel away stuff in his bunk. He always had snacks. So Craig walks in and goes, man, I'm so glad you're here. And I'm like, dude, thanks again. My other side takes over. So thanks again. I'm glad I'm here. But, dude, I just listened to all the wedges, and my buddy Lance Brozovic was the monitor guy before me. And I'll tell you right now, at that time, Lance, and maybe even today, Lance was a better engineer than me. Better.
He's just straight up,
He had some skills, man. And he would take care of bands I couldn't. And it was a love-hate relationship between me and Lance because we're both fighting for the gigs. So I listened to it, man, and that stage sounded good.
Yeah.
It really did. And so after that, I'm sitting behind the desk waiting for the band. First dude walks in, Stephen Perkins. He's the drummer for Jane's Addiction. In my world, hell yeah. All right? Jane's Addiction, probably the 6th CD I bought. So he hops in, I meet him, and I'm trying to keep the starstruck down. And then a couple other guys walk in. Chris Chaney, he played with all the girls back in the day. He's on Santa Monica Boulevard, Sheryl Crow's record. He's on Alanis Morissette's record. I mean, he's just that. He's an LA player, man. You need a real bass player, he comes in. So I'm seeing everybody's a name brand. And here comes Tommy. And Tommy, dude, he just dropped E-tune and open playing guitars. He's singing. He's having a good time. And I'm watching my band. And I'm kind of watching a little too much on Steven. And I'm watching. Nobody's asking for a thing. 3 songs in, Stephen Perkins says, no, cut. Stands up, says, hey, Tommy, we got our monitor guy. So it was one of those situations where Lance was so focused on Tommy, he never looked at anybody else. And so I popped on the tour with Tommy. Opening band was Crazy Town.
So you didn't touch a thing. It was still Lance's mix.
I mean,
you just came in and
gave
some, just gave a little attention, and then they were good.
So that's what the deal was for that band.
But there wasn't a conscious effort of you saying, like, I know these guys just need. So you were just like, I like all these guys. So you're just into it.
Again, I was. I was into the players. At the time when I first heard the music, Tommy was a little ahead of his time, and I wasn't necessarily back in that CD until I heard the songs played a few times. So, it was truly just being like, wow, look at all this talent, getting a little starstruck over here. All right, Tommy's not a bad guy. I thought he was going to be some rock star. He's the most down-to-earth dude you ever met. And so, boom, I hit it off. I go on tour. First time I went to Europe was... So second time I went to Europe. First time was with Ozzo Motley. Ozzo Motley was the first band I ever worked for as a front-of-house guy. I picked them up off of 98 Warped. And great guys. But getting back to this little story is... So we do the whole Tommy thing. Crazy Town opens up for us. Craig gets the guitar player gig and records the song Butterfly with them. So... Now, again, I get a call, and Craig says, man, I'm making some real money, and I think this tour manager is ripping me off. And I think I started by mixing front of house, got my friend Craig Underwood to mix front of house for them. I was his tech on the Moby tour. So Moby's 2000 play tour, I was KF850 tech. With a pair of XL3s. And more outboard gear you can shake a stick at. So I brought Craig Underwood over to the Crazy Town. He did front of house. I did monitors. Richard Cole, who was Led Zeppelin's tour manager, old English guy, old gangster English guy. He actually put out a book that I'm in, and I forget the name of the book. I should have bought a copy. Sorry, Richard, if you hear this. I love you to death. So anyhow, he decides he's at it. Everybody's seen the lead singer Seth on Celebrity Rehab and all that. It's all true. So Richard quits. That's when, and I'm like, whatever. And that's when Craig comes to me yet again, furthering my career, says, dude, you got to step up and tour manage this thing. You're the only one I trust. And I think I might make some money off this gig. And I'm like, well, the way you're spending money, anyway, we don't want to get into the insights. But again, here's my buddy, bringing me in.
Yeah.
So, boom, step up, take care of tour managing. And this is during Ozfest 2000, I want to say, that this happens. No, 2000, I was on Ozfest with Tommy Lee. 2001, I was on Ozfest with them. And then we went to Europe several times. Those guys had 4 hits over in Europe and only 1 here. We went down to Cancun, and this will get into another topic we're going to hit a little later, but this was the first time I tried any drugs. I never really drank. I never really did anything.
Yeah.
I'd have a few beers.
Yeah.
I was that kind of guy, maybe.
But was that just because you were so focused? You were like...
Yeah, I had no interest. I was having so much fun living life on life's terms.
Because high school, college, it's like everybody's getting loaded, partying, all that other stuff.
So while they were doing that, I'm doing these concerts.
You're just trying to get a job.
Yeah. I'm doing these concerts.
Yeah.
Because I was, I'm getting to do Offspring as they're coming up. I got to do No Doubt as they're coming up. All back then. It was a really good time to be in SoCal.
Yeah.
And especially for a company doing so many of those rock gigs.
Yeah.
So I was too hot to get on to the next thing, and so anyhow, out with those guys. They were all pretty casual on using stuff. That was the first time I tried a little blow. And it was fun.
Yeah.
So doing that, then I got the call to do Beck, did a couple of Beck tours, monitors for Green Day for covering over here. I was starting to become the fill-in guy.
And these are all Greg Dean accounts.
Greg Dean and people I was starting to meet on my own.
Gotcha.
Which starts to come into the next phase of me and Greg Dean and then moving on in life.
Okay.
So we're getting into like 2002, and I forget what year the first year of Coachella was, but we did the first 3 years. I did the first 3 years with Industrial Sound, Greg Dean, and then I know 2004, 2005, and maybe 2003 with Rat Sound on the main stage, the year The Cure played, the year Beasties played. God, it all melds together. When you're doing it, you don't think
just go.
That I need to keep track of this because I'm going to tell this one day.
Yeah.
It really got to this point. You can ask a lot of those guys that were around me at the time. We were just doing it.
Yeah, you just go.
And Coachella then wasn't what Coachella is
Nobody
now.
cared about it.
No, not really.
Yeah,
it was the laughing stock that age, was it SFX or
How many
AEG
people do you
time?
think were there the first year?
Dude, Tool headlined the first year.
Okay.
And the locals came out for it.
Yeah.
I think, man, looking around, it sure felt like there was at least 20,000 there.
Really?
It was successful its first year. It was the first time in Southern California. Well, I say it was the first time. It was the first time in my generation that we had saw a festival cater to us.
There hadn't been anything like that, though. Like, I think, so people know, like, Woodstock happened in 77.
Yeah. And there was, if you look back, you'll see that there was stuff happening in Seattle. I think that was K-Love.
Yeah.
There was some big festival that happened but they were a handful.
It wasn't to the to the size or scale of like quantity that once Woodstock happened again, people said, we can do this, make money. The industry started changing.
Yep.
Money went from record sales into the concert experiential. Okay, so you're about to break off from Greg Dean.
Okay, so after the back tour, I actually ended up owning a piece of Industrial Sound.
Okay.
So I became part owner. We kind of had some, Greg was wanting to get out. Green Day blew up, and they just, they were touring for 2 years at a time. Greg was bouncing between them and I think Tool at the time. So he's got his own career. Why be married to trying to make $50,000 a month in payroll? And
Yeah.
Well, Greg's leaving. I own part of this, and the other partner is just not interested in seeing the big picture, and I'm starting to feel like I'm weighted down.
Yeah.
And this is, I'm starting to feel weighted down. The drugs are starting to kind of take a part in my life. Drinking's taking a part in my life, and just seeing my whole life. Industrial was my life.
Yeah.
And when that kind of crumpled, I crumpled with it. And I went to work for Rat Sound for, I think, a year and a half at that point. And went on to do a lot of good stuff at Rat. Got to work with Red Hot Chili Peppers, the Beastie Boys. I got to work with Coachella on the main stages. All the radio festivals that are just a dime a dozen now in LA.
Yeah.
And I once Industrial crashed, I kind of went through, I was drinking a little too much, doing a little too much of whatever, enjoying the club scene, riding a little bit of all the guys I knew because I'd go to Tommy's house, party over there, go meet, the Orgy guys down at the Goth Dance Club, Industrial Club. I go meet.
Orgy is a band, just so everyone knows. Orgy was a band.
But I go hook up with these guys on their off days or whatever, and it was just, it kind of turned into a dark time for me. And that's when my mom retired, and she wanted to go retire in Corpus Christi. So I had owned a couple of houses. I got a little chunk when we sold industrial to PRG.
Okay.
So I went and bought a few houses with my mom down in Corpus Christi, and that's Tommy Rat knew Dross and Mike, who were running the little Miller office out of Austin. So I started freelancing. I was doing the weekend thing with Pat Green and, kind of starting to become involved. And, down in Corpus, all they got is Concrete Street and a
totally
couple
new
venues.
scene. Like, you didn't know anybody, the culture.
Not a darn thing.
Nobody knew you or cared who you were. You're just a dude.
Left LA. So I thought when I got to Corpus that, I still was holding on to a few accounts, KMFDM, Skinny Puppy, a lot of the underground industrial stuff. Had a couple of pop bands that I was kind of working for. And I found out how cold the business can be. That flight out of Corpus killed 3 out of 4 of my main accounts that I was working with every year. So it was just KMFDM who was left, and they were really sliding down. And I'm just going to face it, I got fired in Helsinki. I got too drunk and tried to throw the singer off a cruise ship. So I got fired. And flew home from Helsinki, and that's when I cleaned up my act. And I was working. I got a call. I was doing all the property stuff. We were running out of money. It wasn't a very successful venture, and I was getting sobered up. And I get this little call from a band called Simon Dawes, and I got to do, I think, a few van tours with them. And we supported Incubus and Maroon 5, and so I was like, okay.
Was that an ego blow going from buses to, hey, I'm back in a van, driving a van?
Buses with several trucks.
Were you driving the van?
I was doing everything. I had no work.
Yeah.
I'd blown off a few good managers that I know from drinking. Got fired from Hot Heat. I got fired a lot.
So it was the moments behind that wheel in the van saying, like, you knew, like, I put myself here.
Yeah. I did. I'm driving, but, it's like at least they're supporting some stuff. I'm getting to meet some new people. I got about 9 months sober and kind of blew that off, with those guys. And so after about a year of working with those guys, they got a little sick of my shit, kind of got fired. And they changed the name and went on to become Dawes. And I'm still friends with a couple of the guys, but... I lost a good opportunity. I would have loved to have stayed with those guys. Tyler and all the boys are phenomenal players. They're great people. They're still the most humble guys. I just saw Tyler at a festival a few months ago. Still the Malibu Beach kid that I met, over 10 years ago. So, Tommy was trying to get me to meet up with Dross, and we did a little phone 3-way interview, and I think I was hungover. Dross wasn't really interested in talking to me, and Tommy was trying to make the connection, and it didn't happen. I roll into Emo's in Austin.
This was Tommy Rat.
Tommy Rat, yes. Okay. And I think you've met him. He met us out by. He used to come out with us all the time. So I cruise and do this outside Emo's Annex back in, this is 05 now. Okay. And meet Dross in person. And
how old are you in 2005?
2005, I was mid-30s? Okay. No, early 30s.
Okay.
Yeah, so I meet Dross. And me and him headed off. And I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I'm Tommy's friend. They had a rat sticker on one of the cases. I'm like, oh, who's the rat guy here? Dross says, well, me. We were associated with rat, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, da-da-da-da-da. Before you know, a couple dudes talking. And I said, man, I'm stuck in Corpus. Didn't realize there was going to be no work there. My bands aren't flying me out anymore. And he starts saying, dude, if you don't mind driving up here, I've got gigs. So I started working. That's how I started working for Miller.
Okay.
Was off that. I'm still the only guy I know that's got a gig out of South by. And that started off with me just being the weekend warrior. Then I took over the Pat Green account. And the properties down there, Miller gave me that little Pat Green gig, gave me, I started phoning up, trying to get gigs, started selling gigs for him. He put me on a nice little tiny salary, real small salary.
Real tiny.
But that Pat Green and 4 or 5 days a week
and
to work on those properties.
2006, that was just after Wave on Wave came out?
Yeah.
It was 2005, right? It was 2005, right? And that was really what just
Yeah,
he was a
came in
club dude.
six.
A lot of people know Pat Green and have done stuff with him, and there's a whole nother thing there.
Right.
But yeah, 2005, Wave on Wave, someone that comes out and he goes from clubs like country festivals, not as a headliner, to arena guy, like overnight.
Yeah. And that's when Miller got the gig. And I walked in to a very nervous crew. And, you know, again, I'm feeling that Tommy Lee vibe again. Everybody, and I worked for Pat. I'm still friends with him now. And I don't understand why everybody was so nervous around the guy back then. Maybe it's the hit. Maybe everybody finally thought, hey, we're going to make it. I don't know what that was. But the monitor guy before me, he had DVX IEM mastering processors and submixers and just all this whole rack.
Convoluted.
Yeah. And they wanted to switch to a PM5D, which I'd only worked on a couple times. But I took the gig like I'm a 5D master.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So I just trashed everything they had in the band and the tour manager and the guitar tech, you know, Wheezy. All came over and said, dude, you're crazy. Absolutely not. You can't do this. I said, I will not do it this way. This sounds bad.
Yeah.
And I kicked all that gear out, and they're like, man, you're good. I guess it was nice knowing you.
They were on 5Ds until like not that long ago. You got them stuck
story.
on that. Yeah.
So anyway, all that stuff, I just trashed it all.
Yeah.
And it was like 3 racks worth of weird stuff, DFRs and blah, 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 blah. So trash it all, get their talkback mics hooked up, got the band happy in just a minute. I mean, the drummer, Justin, he was a little bit picky, but once I got the vibe with him, me and him we clicked.
Yeah.
Pat came in, played a set. Didn't look at me, didn't talk to me, didn't meet me, didn't nothing. And we loaded the stuff up on the semi, and I got on the bus, and I guess everything was all right. So, and that was, and I stayed with Pat for, I want to say 1.5 years or 2 years.
Okay.
But the stuff I moved up, started living in the shop. I mean, I had to rebuild from the bottom up. You remember me living in the shop out there.
Yeah, but there was actually a shop in town in Austin.
There was for a minute. I saw it one time, and then they moved out into the Del Valley.
Yeah.
And they had that little apartment in it. So for me to get out of Corpus and get up there, that apartment was actually a good part because I still had that financial liability of those properties. I wasn't sure how that was going to go. And that started coming together. This thing with Miller was coming together. I got up there, and I realized how small that Miller office in Austin was when I got there.
Yeah. And
that was actually really good for me.
Yeah.
Because I got scared.
Back then, Lubbock was the huge hot
big
spot.
Shop.
That was where Galaxy, they were making cases, the boxes, all the big accounts that's where they were out of. All the political stuff was out of Lubbock. Yeah, at that time, which is crazy because now I'm just Lubbock. Like, in general, I mean,
but
even
I think it's on an upward swing. We can talk about that later. But that little shop might have. We've been working hard, and it's paying off.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
So but I got to Austin, and I mean, dude. You remember. I mean, it wasn't nothing. Dros and Mike were talking a big game. Yeah. And I got there and I said, oh, man, this thing's so small, Danny may shut it down. And here I am. I'm vested. I'm this, I'm that. And I just hit the street and got some of that excitement going again. I'm either going to sink or swim. And, Danny, he's like, man, if you could just get it rolling, I'll get you whatever you need down there.
Yeah.
And I got out there and changed the face of that little shop in no time. And just... it was in double-digit growth all the way up until about 3 years ago. I finally, I finally keyed her off. It leveled off. It didn't go down. It just, gigs, blah, blah, blah. And that's when I started reaching out. And that's when reaching out to my friends. That's, we started doing Mayhem Tour, Uproar Tour, Oddball Tours, Jeff and Larry's Backyard Barbecue Tours. All these tours, all these people I know, we did some stuff with Greg Dean for Identity Festival. A lot of my friends started coming back. It's kind of a weird thing, and started doing some shed tours and set the stage lines out. I helped Danny buy the first 320 in 2012 with the Identity Tour with Greg Dean, and John Reese with SGE. Just a really... time turner there, and I was able to be all of a sudden be a part of that again. It's different. It's not the LA super cool, doing all that stuff, but now it's the Austin, Dallas. We're making stuff happen, and we're doing more special events, and we're broadening wide.
Yeah, for sure.
That it's insane.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to take a quick break for a sponsor roll, and we'll be right back for more on this episode of The Roadie. This podcast is sponsored by Movement Creative and Event Services. We're not the watch company, but we are someone to watch. Serving brands, agencies, businesses, and consumers with all your event and creative needs in the form of photography, videography, event design, venue selection, vendor management, production, entertainment, and more. You can find more about us on the web at www.mvmntcreative.com. That's www.mvmntcreative.com. Now back to your regularly scheduled program. I'm looking at our
we got chattier than I thought.
Storyline here. So
Yeah.
you kind of cover a lot of things. One of the spots we had here was memorable stories, successes, failures. I think we've talked about both of those. Some of the failures you had getting kicked off. I think we can go into some of that with the other part. Mentors. It sounds like Ed was a mentor.
Ed,
Greg
Dean.
Yeah.
Greg Dean, even to this day, is still a mentor. He's out with Smashing Pumpkins right now. I just, we're friends.
Yeah.
Still friends.
Anybody else that was like that maybe wasn't in the industry, but somebody that impacted you and maybe got you back on track or...
No, the owner of the pawn shop, Rio, was just a life-loving guy. Steve Simmons.
Shout out to Rio.
Huh?
Shout out to Rio.
Shout out to my boy Rio. Haven't talked to him in, I think, 10 or 12 years.
Okay.
Steve Simmons, his father used to own Simmons Mattress.
Okay.
We can get it.
Wow, yeah. It's all connected.
It gets weird, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You have to be with me and Elijah to understand that connection. But, those two started the pawn shop, and they were just really good friends that... A lot of life lessons in that little pawn shop. I learned how to speak some Spanish and learned a lot about the culture from our Mexican brothers. Just, even here, just 100 miles south.
Yeah.
Had no idea. It opened my eyes up to how different countries live. I just thought everybody, I'm in Orange County. I'm naive.
Yeah.
Opened me up.
Yeah.
And then when I started going over, it was really weird going to Europe during the Clinton years into the Bush years. And how I went from identifying, people, hear your accent. Where are you from? Oh, yeah, I'm from L.A.
Yeah.
Bush took over. Hey, where are you from? Canada.
Yeah.
Not that I'm pushing any political agenda.
Yeah.
It just, he wasn't very popular. It seems like the Republican parties aren't very popular overseas.
Yeah.
Regardless of our political views.
Yeah.
Here, what we feel about them is... It's just weird. Every political... I've been around long enough that I can see certain things.
But it's probably different, though. I think, you said you went to a very liberal, diverse college.
Yeah.
That part of, kind of in the incubator is different from when you're actually like, oh, hey, I'm going to go get a working job with, blue collar job with working class people that are immigrants or otherwise. Like, that's very different than diversity class and inclusion class. And not that that's not important, I think.
Right.
But it's very different from, living it.
It helped me, in seeing that, because one of the topics I was hoping we'd cover, I don't know how much time we have left. We got chatty.
We can just roll forever. It's fine.
But we got into, you mentioned it real briefly, Full Sail and the colleges that are now offering school. And the generation gap. I'm now the old guy. And we've talked about this, just me and you chatting. Is we now have, I'm Gen X and you're the millennials. And there's been a lot of change. And it's a fundamental, a functional, it's social. There's so many changes. And I just didn't think I would become, how would you say it? I don't want to say, it's not an obsolete thing. It's how did I become so closed-minded and into my own thing that the millennials seem different? And the schooling, because I still believe that we're in a master apprentice field. You can go and you can read the book. I know exactly how that works, but I can't work it. I've always been honest with you. Logic, I know how logic. And I bet if I sat there,
we're looking at an open body on a table right now.
Sorry, I get into my. But the recording software that we're using today, I understand how it works and what it's doing. Can I operate it? No. Could I figure it out? Yes, of course. So now what's going on is we've got these young guys and ladies, that's been another nice change is we're seeing some more ladies, not as many as I'd like. We're definitely not a 50-50 industry yet.
Yeah.
Soundgirls.org is doing some amazing stuff with Carrie Keys at the helm. And she's a big player at Rat, and For Feeney, who does Warped Tour. But it's still not enough, They're going more into lighting. No, they don't want to do sound.
Yeah. When was the first female you saw out on the road or at a gig?
Megan Metcalf was working for Delicate Audio back in the day, 80s and 90s. She's amazing.
Okay.
She is a larger than life girl.
Okay.
And fully tatted. I mean, she'd knock me out. She'd knock me out.
Yeah.
But intelligent, shares the knowledge, doesn't have a problem. She favors the ladies because she wants to see ladies come in.
For sure.
But she'll be mixing with a young guy and she'll kind of be like, "How'd you do that?" "Oh, hey, here's that." "Yeah, you don't know. You didn't know do this? This is how this does that."
Yeah.
And passes that knowledge on. And that's one of the things I'm having trouble with now. Is, Master Apprentice is passing that knowledge on. And letting guys know, why was I such a good tech back in the day? It wasn't because I was a badass engineer. It was because I knew how to anticipate the needs of the engineer coming up, anticipate the needs of the band coming up, anticipation of those needs, and being technical enough to, when a guy threw something at me on a Heritage, did you do fun in the early days? When we were still analog consoles?
The first year that we did it, I was managing some stuff, but I didn't go down for it.
Okay, so it used to be stage A on the left side of a Heritage 3000, and the B side of the stage on the other side of the Heritage. Yeah. So you're mixing a band, line checking a band, inserts for days, effects for both sides. Yeah. And that's how we mixed, It was just, you had to be that competent.
Yeah.
And that's two bands going at the same time through one console.
Yeah.
Which digital consoles can't do today.
Yeah.
And you were just kind of expected to be able to roll with that.
Yeah.
Back then. And that's what I was good at, and I was a good monitor engineer. But it wasn't always, "Hey, Chris, you're the badass engineer." No, it was, "Hey, you're the badass tech." I got more gigs off my teching ability than anything else, especially in the early days.
Which definitely helps in the contracting world. Mixing, I think we get into that is I think mix engineers today from in the past, you have some good and bad there. I think of some guys that just kind of, nowadays they just inherit scenes, digital stuff, and they just kind of go through it and they don't know the fundamentals. But I mean, also the same thing back in the day, as with now, a lot of times it's just like, if you got a good tech, if the PA is loud, nobody cares. Like, I don't think so many people are.
I think that's a Texas culture, though.
It's just make it loud.
Well, when when you come out of LA, the shows are so important because you've got the booking agent there, movie producers who want to possibly put your track on their next movie. You've got business managers, the lawyers, the actual band managers, the record labels there, the promotion firms. You can have, when Bowie played, at the Greek Amphitheater back in, I want to say 2003, and Nederlander was one of my big accounts. When Bowie plays, he plays a separate, or when he did, he plays a separate show for the guest list, and the guest list paid $100 a seat. So that the night I was there, Marilyn Manson's there, Trent Reznor, a couple of the guys from Rolling Stones and Aerosmith. I'm sitting there. I've got great seats. I was in the first bowl, and I'm looking around with all this. Anthony Hopkins and actors and other rock stars, and that was the guest list show. And then the next 3 nights were, for the people. And I forgot where I was going with that.
We were talking about mixing, and if that's being loud, this is the only thing that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, so imagine that 7,000, or that place held 10,000 people of just all these, they're just, LA, New York, Chicago, hotspots for important people. So these shows, I can't tell you how many tours, even with Tommy, went through LA, your front of house guy changed. You got a bad review. You're done. And that's the stress that people were under. And I was under that stress daily. 100 shows a year. Everybody freaking out all the time. Have to have the best stuff. Have to do this. And that's those guys that were successful in that environment because I was their technician. Because back then I'd throw drum. Oh shoot, we didn't get a sound check. I'm throwing drums together. There's no scene. It's all analog. He's watching his vocals and guitars. I'm throwing drums together or watching the outboard, right? Making sure the gate's not cutting stuff out and that there's some verb and delay and the delay's on time. So. Those guys are the guys like, Craig Underwood, who took me on Moby. I made him feel comfortable. Craig, that we did Orgy with and stuff. I made him feel comfortable. He wasn't the best. He was really good here, but nowhere else. But I had his back behind the console. And that's how I kept getting gigs. Today, guys are getting gigs with a thumb drive. And one of the things I watch, I wanted to kind of touch on me phasing into management. I lost a lot of interest. When I used to tech 850s, you had to really know what you were doing. Then line arrays came out. Now with VDOS, that was kind of fun. Strapping cabinets together, and there's tricks to make VDOS really sing. But it started getting to where you started just looking at the computer before you ever did anything. And that's where I got bored of teching PA. Then introduction of digital, and I didn't, the introduction of digital has been a rough road because it doesn't sound very good. And nobody's willing to call it out because they like plugins. They like having scenes. It's like, but it doesn't sound good. Now with the SD, with the Digico stuff and the new generation of Avid, now digital's starting to sing using their own stage racks. That getting to 128K, 96K and above. Some of the Digico stuff's going to 128. That kind of stuff's really making it sound good. So I find myself getting a little more interested. So. I think in certain environments being loud isn't always the case there. It's like, man, I can't tell you how many, if it doesn't sound good, I get upset. I went and saw Depeche Mode, 360 amphitheater, saw them up here at the Starplex. And at 360, I was just off to the side, and I had a little front fill was my whole show, and I was just bummed.
I think I agree, and I don't go to shows. I don't. I mean, I work enough events. I don't go to shows, and I'm just I'm more introverted, so I don't want to be around all of that. But I mean, in that with the quality of things, it's like with a record, even still nowadays, if you're gonna put out a record. Yes, you got people producing stuff in their bedrooms, in their basements, etc. But at the end of the day, if you're on a major label, that still goes to a real mastering house like Sterling Sound or something. And that's very much still a scientific craft. They've got all the scopes, all the meters. You print out 8 16-track stems. And they basically fix everything that was wrong with whatever you did in the bedroom. And they still put out a clean product. And I think that's the thing now is, nowadays and in the live world, there's never really been that, to get to the clean world. I think the analog days afforded a little bit of, because of the natural saturation, it softened things up, tape softened things up. And so I think with digital, I don't know that I agree with the line of that digital didn't sound as good. I think it was just so clean and we were missing a lot of those harmonics, the saturation, the psychoacoustics that was just there before. And now you see even with Pro Tools, they've got a plugin called Heat and it's moved over to all the other stuff. And that's what it does. It's on everyone. Every digital console has it. And it does that kind of when you start to hit into the preamp, it gives you some of that saturation, the harmonics, smooths things out that you're just like, this is great.
Well, I mean, we can agree to disagree because my thing is, the sample rates were so low. The time, the latency issues,
latency and noise are the two things I'll agree with you on. That were definitely a battle, I think, of the digital part and that becoming cheaper and the costs and all that for sure.
And then the engineer's dependency on plugins, I think, is another.
I think misuse of plugins is another thing. I think there's a time to stack and there's a time when it's like, hey, I don't need anything on it. I think it's just the misuse and of that sound that you're going for.
It becomes a dependency.
Yeah.
You know, you see guys getting three USB hubs together to get all their iLocks in, needing 5 DSPs.
Yeah.
The ability to do, I forget how many 100 plugins on a 24-channel band. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I will say that the number of times that I see guys that have these hybrid huge racks and these huge riders, and they got to have the analog plus all the wave stuff and all this other stuff. The percentage of times that I actually hear that and go, wow, I'm impressed, I would say it's less than 5%.
It's further down than when you saw a guy with an EX56, some tube techs, and you went, oh, wow. This guy sounds good. Now, we had just as many guys running around with that stuff.
Yeah, the same thing, that were just carrying a bunch of racks to have a bunch of racks.
Yeah.
I mean, I did just a couple years ago, it's probably longer than that now, but I remember doing a show with a guy, and he had XL4 console, which everybody out there, that's one of the top desks still today, analog desks that lots of people, U2, I'm sure Depeche Mode, anybody who's anybody had this audio console.
SD5.
Before?
No,
analog days?
Yeah,
I'm saying analog. Yeah, XL4, that's everybody.
Oh, yeah, Metallica, everybody.
But this guy brought in, he had a whole rack, and this was probably, 20 processors. That was just an insert chain for the lead vocal.
Right.
And he bypassed the XL4 pre for some SSL pre or something, and he was like, I'm not going to use that preamp. It's garbage.
Right.
And it's just like, interestingly enough, he wasn't looking out, and it rained, and their pop-up leaked and fried his XL4 during the show. And we were doing the show there, and we had a Soundcraft GB4, which is a small analog console. I had just cased it up because I was like, we're done. I have the hands hauling stuff off to the truck while the headliner's playing.
Wow.
And then I'm like, oh, shit. And so we open the console, and I'm like, here's a console. It's fried. Like, it's dead. They're still playing on stage, and there's no audio coming out of front of house because everything's dead. And so I was like, I'll start moving your stuff over. You just got to give me the word, because it's your band ultimately here. It's like, it's not on me. And so he's freaking out. So I start moving stuff over. So I grab the lead vocal channel. I'm like, are you ready? I'm going to do this now. And I had gained it up a little bit already so he could just push the fader up. And he freaked out at me. He was like, no, you can't. How dare you? He pulled the insert and got all these adapter cables together because he refused to not use that signal chain. Wow. And so he probably had another 10 minutes of dead air.
10 minutes of dead air.
Just to try to get that, because he refused to have, and his artist is on stage. He didn't even walk off. Wow. He's just angry. On stage, just playing his acoustic guitar. But yeah, I mean, just a little side tangent there, but the fundamentals, back to that there, just make sound happen. Yeah. And as long as it's clean, those are the fundamentals. And I think there is I got to have my plug-in racks. I got to have all this.
Good example of a situation like that is I was in Europe with Tommy Lee. We lost a leg of power. Mm-hmm. And it happened during the set. He finished the song, and I saw what was going on. I was able to repatch some stuff. And I went to Tommy and said, look, dude, I can get you your click in your ears, because he had a lot of tracks. Yeah. And I told the whole band, get you guys click. I got no wedges, no side fills. I got nothing. Front of house PA's on, ready to rock. And he said, we can still play for the people, right? I said, yeah, front of house, totally cool. Craig's out there, he's ready. But I'll give you guys click, and I'll give you some in-ears. And boom, they just walked right out. Yeah. Finished another hour and played 2 encores that night. Nothing. That English Acid gig, the Red Hot Chili Peppers played a surprise show on Mother's Milk, and again, another leg of power blows. They can come up with some single phase, no monitors, band played. Yeah, it's sometimes that kind of stuff comes from top down. However, your main artist is, and what he's driving into that tour camp.
What they can perform. I think traditional performers and stuff, I think you'd probably still see a Justin Timberlake would still probably perform, but it would be stripped down, right? Acoustic, etc., or whatever. He's got a great band.
He's that kind of guy.
But at the same time, I don't know that I would. There's plenty of people I would discount and write off. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think I would discount a Britney Spears Vegas show, because that is her whole show. Right. Is tracks, is electronics, is sync to time code, is automation, and I don't think anybody is going to be upset about it, but like people don't come to see, like they would never watch Britney Spears play acoustic, her playing a guitar. Like that's not her gig. And it never was. You know, all these other guys, Chili Pepper, stuff like that, garage bands, like they can make that happen
even
in whatever element that
like
is.
That kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I think there are, you know, there's definitely other ways to strip it down and have the fundamentals there. I'm going to move on a little bit here. Is there anybody that was just a huge asshole you can remember in the industry that held you back, held somebody else back, or just made a specific gig like hell? Just out of sake to just be one.
You know, I must suppress that because there's
you can change the name.
No, I mean I'll call him out. Herman. Okay. He did Casey and the Sunshine Band.
Okay.
He made me a better tech through driving me into the ground.
Okay.
And I had a chance. I didn't get to tech the gig for him. We did him at HEB Center down in Austin, and he ripped my guys apart. Still to this day, ripping monitor guys apart.
Yeah,
you know, because the guy can actually hear. If you give him wedges and your horn's out of phase, he can hear it. He's that good.
Yeah.
And you know, and he's an Australian, and he is a superb tech that works for a lot of bands, and he kind of just expects stuff to be a certain way, and he will drive you into the ground.
Yeah.
The flip side of that, if you can handle them, you know, I used to fill in for, you know, this won't mean anything to anybody anymore, but I used to fill in Casey and the Sunshine Band for him.
Yeah.
Casey was 28 mixes. You know, always on the fly, no sound check. Mm-hmm. And he was handing that gig to me, you know.
Yeah.
And I look back and go, man, I don't know if I'd do that today.
Yeah.
You know, he handed me Devo when they were doing their big reunion stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just a jerk.
Just
until you got to know him. You did a few gigs with him, you remember your name, and all of a sudden you're all right. A lot of the jerks were always the metalhead kind of guys.
Yeah.
They're either sweethearts or total jerks. Like Rick Deasing mixed just everybody metal, super sweetheart.
Yeah.
Eddie, production manager guy, still to this day comes through with bands. And he just makes everything as hard as possible. He just assumes that you're going to know everything, doesn't advance his shows very well, and then just grinds you day off.
Yeah, I think that's hardest. There's some people that are rough around the edges, but really, you know, not just good intent, but, you know, good actions and things of that sort. You know, they just maybe don't have all the skills there, but they want to. And
You've
then
watched me change a little bit on that.
And then I think there's the guys that are just, you know, in any walk of life, they just want to watch the world burn. Hard. They just want to watch the world burn. And, you know, something happened to them at some point, and it's just an ego. And I will say, though, is like, obviously everyone hates the person that, like, talks like they know what they're talking about, and they don't. I think what's really, really sad, and we both know a couple people like this, and probably more, is the people that are actually really, really smart and maybe talking out of their ass about something else. But it's like they're really, really smart, and they have a whole lot of potential. But the ego and the attitude just...
And I don't know where that comes from. You know? One of my best friends is just like that.
I think we can move on. We had some stuff about struggles in the industry. I think we've kind of gone over some of that. Is there anything that you think is a universal struggle in the industry while you're making it? And did that change from the 80s, 90s to now, or?
Well, the one of the newer struggle is I'm trying to think of guys and girls coming out of these schools.
Yeah.
Thinking, the Shure ad. Remember the Shure ad where it's the guy, he's lit by the console lights, and it's like, it's your moment. Yeah. And I think that's kind of what people think our business is, because so many people are coming in and trying it for a day and leaving. And it's like, you just went to 2 years or 4 years of school,
$40,000.
Yeah, and you just came in and realized you got to pack a truck.
Yeah.
That's why I like, even though me and Matt Quick aren't the greatest buddies.
Shout out to Matt Quick.
Yeah, a little shout out to
I love Matt Quick.
Yeah. No, I mean, we've had our ups and downs.
Yeah.
But he actually has a truck pack class.
Yeah, he does.
he's actually pushing his industry forward to produce better students to come to us.
Yeah.
Not just us. I mean, us as companies in this business. And he's trying new things. He is driving a new curriculum. Whether me and him get into our tiffs about wireless frequencies and consoles and whatnot, we've had our ups and downs. But he's got to be recognized for pushing that. Yeah. Because these kids are coming in thinking, oh, yeah, here I am on this. They know everything more than I know. I mean, me and you've talked about this. Just, more, I'll forget why there's 3 legs in an XLR cable. I don't need to know. When one's not working, you fix it. And it's right.
A spare. It's a spare. There's one spare.
But, that's always my big joke. And these guys these students are coming out and they're just knowledgeable as all get out, but they don't have that real life experience and don't think they need it.
Yeah.
And they're coming in, and I just feel bad. It's like can't get quite an apprentice program going with anybody. Either we can't afford to hire them just to hire them to show them what the life is like, or they don't want to spend the time because they're too busy at school having a job. I mean, it's not easy it wasn't easy being a student when I was a student. It's getting even harder now. On one aspect, it seems like there's more money and people have it easier. On other aspects, it seems like some students are having to struggle even harder.
Yeah.
So they don't have that extra time to just hang out at my shop and see what it's really about. Or they only want to come to the show and see the finished product. And it's like,
I think it's hard because, coming up in a range where it's like, I can learn something so quick. And I think there are a lot of areas where, every generation is like, learn stuff faster. You learned computers faster than, like you said, like your dad did. But then at the same time, there's some of the hard skills. I think we live in a world, people talk a lot about hard skills and soft skills,
Right.
And there are some soft skills that are becoming like more digestible and quicker to do, but some of the hard stuff, like you can't get 6-pack abs no matter what you do overnight. You got to do the work. And I think there's still a lot of that stuff in the entertainment industries. You may come in, you may know. I don't think that a lot of them know a lot of the fundamentals of, the electronics and the equations and all that stuff. But, even if they do know that, they know the consoles, they know how to turn it on, they know the keyboard shortcuts, all that
Which
stuff. But it's like, but what are you using the keyboard shortcuts for? How do you get to there? How do you make a finished project? Because at these schools, it's like you said, like there was the guy mixing back in the day and the guy making sure it all worked. That's how the schools work. There's always like something there supporting them. And so when they come out, they're like, why do I need to learn how to, I was talking to someone the other day, a millennial, and they were saying millennials are more entrepreneurs than any other generation, and that's why they don't want to work for people and stay. And I was like, well, if that was true, millennials would own more businesses than every other generation. But in order to own a business and to keep it around, it's not a startup, which I have a huge tiff with about startups, but you got to have that perseverance in order to be around tomorrow. I mean, there's so much stuff, like you said, a leg of power falls out, or, you got to take out a loan to make payroll. Like there's so much that people don't know about the side of running the actual business or being the sound company, even if you don't have the financial part of like, we got to get this gear to a show. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, it'd be great if we had all the greatest consoles, whatever. But at the end of the day, like I told you a story about the guy where no vocal on stage, like the whole band's down, like just get the basics up, like, and there's, I think the only way to do that is the experience. Like they're not going to know, right? You do have to fail. You have to know. But what I used to do with the guys when I was running the Lubbock shop was I'd say, hey, you can come in after shop hours, and I would do drills for them. And I'd say, and I would just go to the front, work on other stuff. And they'd say, like, what are you doing? I'd say, like, there's gear in here. Build me a PA. You have 45 minutes. And they'd just be like, what? And they'd always like not make it there. But then, after a couple times, they'd start to get it. And it was like, I thought it was very valid to put that pressure on, because that's the thing you can't simulate in a classroom or even at the shop. There's not that pressure of somebody on stage, or that the show's got to start, cameras are rolling, broadcast trucks are rolling. Like that pressure and working under it, I feel like is so key. And I feel like that's missed in a lot of training programs, wherever, whether it's at school or on the job.
Right. And then, like we also have the problem, especially at our Dallas shop, where we're so busy that it's hard to find a moment. Like I've got a couple superstars in the making right now.
Yeah.
And, I just want to walk out and spend that minute. and just say, hey,
Yeah.
what are you working on today? What are you doing? What happened at this show this weekend? What were you working on? What are you working on this week?
Yeah.
And just spend some time with them. And
Yeah.
it's so hard. Anthony came up under me, Clint, all these really good guys that we have. But I'm just not getting that connection. I've been so management and so sales and so that I miss that connect. And that connect is important because I got to pass those skills on.
Yeah.
Like you said, that you put those kids under that pressure to do that PA in 45 minutes, you see the weak points. Now you've got something to talk about.
Yeah.
That is going to make them better.
Yeah, but it's not. I don't think that in the typical what we normally see of master apprentice, which I think a lot of times is more like master and slave in a lot of ways, and especially because the ego. A lot of times they don't want them to be better than them.
And that's sad.
And that is very sad because to me, if somebody becomes better than me, I can become better. I can learn from them. And now you're limitless in terms of that. There's not a ceiling. But I think it's sad when a lot of times it's like, hey, I'm going to give you your shot. And then you totally messed it up. But it's like, it's not really, fair. And, some people are in it's like, well, you should have done that on your own time. With what console? With where? Right. Where should you have done all that to, fall on your face and do that? And not everybody is, I think that's a case of, equal opportunity. It does not equal opportunity for everyone.
Right.
Like that looks different to different people.
And, one of the struggles in our business today is it used to be when our gear got a little old or wasn't meeting all the new riders, it went into the nightclubs. And then in the nightclubs, you put your young staff in there where they could make a mistake, have a monitor squeal on a guy, and it not be a showstopper. Those opportunities are going away. The systems are becoming so, computerized. You give a guy, these wedges will not feedback no matter what you do. This PA will not take off on you no matter what you do. Here, just sit there. And then these club guys aren't getting that. They might get some mixed experience, but they're not having to put just, like me back in those days in Long Beach, man, we're making that PM 1000, some JBL 4560s, and God knows what horns work.
Yeah.
And we made them work every day.
Yeah.
Ed's shop, knowing about all the connectors and putting value to that. So we don't have that connection to that other side because the gear has gotten so cheap. You can just go buy an X32. You can go buy some RCF speakers and some RCF wedges, and boom, you've got a little thing. And you can do that all at Guitar Center now. People are reps are walking into these clubs and getting that gear sorted out for them. And no longer having that dependency on your sound company. Some of the older school guys still want to make that lease deal or make that purchase through a sound company so they have the support. But it's just not being what it used to be. And that's a change that's happened. That we've also lost that spot you're talking about. Where did you get that chance to fall on your face? Well, it was down at the stupid little club over here. Where that one guy was playing on the corner with 5 people.
I think, in any industry, though, it's like, obviously, the event industry in general, but specifically with sound reinforcement, video reinforcement, lighting, all this other stuff, it's so new, really, when you think about it. But the only way for it to stay around, the people that are going to stay around, are the people that adapt, evolve, and figure out how to scale. Like that's how there's conglomerates, in any field. In the medical industry, even 200 years ago, it was medicine people, medicine man, medicine woman of the town. It was, and they were trying, but it wasn't like, obviously it's still a long time to go to school, but you can become a nurse in 4 years, 2 years, and at least
4 to be a nurse,
and at least work in the hospital though, and do something, take people's blood pressure, and so I do think it's a thing that Claire can take somebody 90 days, put them out on the road as a PA tech. They may not be the best mix engineer, but go out there and learn the rest. And it's like, I think that's a key to scaling though, is how do you find that system to, like you said, like if you want to scale, and like you said, a lot of times you're so busy, you're just trying to stay afloat. But it's like in the scale of looking forward, it's like, where's the, where's the person, the look ahead scout that's doing that and doing all that stuff.
That's where kind of Anthony and Clint and Cody, all these guys, Khalid coming in, Toby, even pulling all that talent that we've cultivated, still finds that it gets so sucked up. That at some point you would think. And, I talk to other companies in town, they're feeling the same issue. And I don't have the answer other than we keep trying. Throw more eggs against the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
And nobody, it's easy when you're Claire because everybody wants to go work at Claire. Mm-hmm. Everybody wants to go work at Rad or the 8th Day or Morris Leasing or these companies. But when you look at companies like Miller and companies like Onstage locally and LD, are the people that are employing more people and keeping them in year-round salaries and year-round gig opportunities. But that local attraction, that young guy, of course, everybody wants to go work at Rad. Who doesn't want to look at this tour roster of all this cool stuff?
Yeah. I think
that's
a
challenge.
That's a balance of, especially with the millennials, it's still the cool thing. Everybody wants to be where stuff is cool or looks like where they're at. So it's like you have this new thing where it's like you have a PR issue that you didn't know you had to attract talent. And then also, some of the broadening out in different gigs. And so it's like, now it's like, you're new in the world of trying to figure out how do I make this look attractive. And then also to the older guys that are like, hey, I want to get off the road. But, you got a lot of guys that want to get off the road, first of all, that, like, let me get in a salary job. But they've never been in the contract world. And they also don't want to teach. Like, just because you know how to run a console doesn't mean you have any social skills. Right. Doesn't mean you have any leadership skills. And it doesn't mean that they want to. And I think they get misplaced a lot because they are the veteran and et cetera. And
trying to find that right seat for the right person is a constant juggle. And
so I think there you come in with these guys who like, I know how to run the console. I know how to do all this, but I don't know how to scale it. I don't know how to deploy it.
Right.
So it's like you almost have to have a person that comes in and says, how do I take an 18-year-old kid off the street, 20-year-old kid, in what Chris does, it's great, and all these other people, and make it into a curriculum or of some sort to train. And I think that's what like great companies, not even just like Facebook, but I mean, you look at like a Target, you go into a Target, you get onboarded for 3 days, and then you're running a register, you know, and that's some complicated, we take it for granted now, but that's complicated technology, they just made it idiot proof, really. But I mean, like, think about the revenue in even just an hour that happens. Like, people think about like, oh, we do is so complicated, but they made it so simple that, they can sell $10,000 in an hour, one person, checking people out, and it took them 3 days to bring them on. You know? And so I think that's a key to scaling. But anyways, move on from that a little bit. How has the industry affected like other things you wanted to do in life and like your personal relationships?
It's difficult because we've chosen an industry where we are supporting the party, and the party is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And it's also not necessarily down the street. Mm-hmm. When you're with a band, it's in 30 different cities in 32 days. When you're production house, it's in Dallas on Friday, Fort Worth on Saturday, Austin on Sunday, and back in Austin on Wednesday for Blues on the Green. You've got this, not only this crazy schedule where we're working more hours in those 3 days than most people work in a week.
Yeah, it's true.
So you've got, and you're trying to bring on a significant other, and man, that could be tough if they're not in the same walk of life. My wife is Monday through Friday in the medical field, and hey, you know what? I'm going to be up in Fort Worth Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh shoot. What I forgot today, Wednesday, is Blues on the Green. Bob Schneider's playing down there. I'd love to, I need to check in. That is a flagship gig for me. And here I am, forgot all about it. It's terrible. But that it really hits you with the significant others. You start to also have hard times keeping those friendships fresh because, your college friends, your school friends, your whatever friends have gone into that 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. And here you are Thursday through Sunday saying, hey, Monday at noon, you available for lunch? It's like, man, I'm at work, and you start to lose touch with that. You start to have that significant other problem where it's like, if they're not on that flex schedule like you are, it can hurt you there. Bonuses, man, when I go to the lake, there ain't nobody there. But you know me, I work 7 days a week. So it does hurt those relationships, you know. I couldn't make Mother's Day this year. My mom, she's
when
still
did you
mad
start
at me.
to like really? I feel like because a lot of times, like you said, you get wrapped up in it at the beginning.
Yeah.
When did you start to notice, like, hey, I lost some friends, I lost some girls, haven't seen my mom in a while, like, and how do you rectify that and start to balance that?
Well, it's one thing when you're in your 20s. You know, it really is. It's like, hey, your career's taken off. This is what you do in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's changed in any generation. You know, and in your 30s, you're starting to rely on that. In my case, I had a little bump in my 30s.
Yeah.
And started taking back off mid-30s. So, you know, I kind of realized, around 30, 31 that I was missing some opportunities. And, but see, significant, I want to use significant others. I don't want to isolate anybody, is... at first it's cool, the one girl that got away, so to speak, she would fly out and meet me in places and ride a day on the tour bus and whatnot. And it was a jet setting 29-year-old, how you doing? We're on fire right now. Now with my wife it's like she's not really interested in hopping on a plane just to watch me work. Now she'll come out, she comes out on all the tours. But nowadays I'm the production manager, so I'm not cracking that truck.
It's a different thing.
So I started realizing 31, 32 that my friends were, I was having colleagues, not friends. Everybody I was hanging with is friends from work, you know, and those friends from college and those friends from high school were taking a back seat because they're out doing their own thing, and their own thing wasn't lining up with my thing. We get together once in a while, but even those got further and further apart. So it definitely, when you got to realize that kind of input, because even today, with as big as like Miller's gotten, it's still hard to guarantee that day off for that guy. We're getting better at it. But here's a 25-year-old company with a lot of veteran staff still having that struggle of making sure a guy can get, Biggie and shout out to, Biggie and Josh. They're going to Europe to see the big, or off to England. What's that big festival over 4th of July with Metallica and everybody? They finally just said, screw y'all. We've never been out of the country and we're going to see.
That's cool.
And you got to support those guys.
I think there's
but that's going to hurt 4th of July.
So with yourself though, like, did you feel like there was a point where you started saying no, like internally, like I gotta be there for my girl or for my mom, like I'm not gonna take
as I've gotten
that
older,
gig.
As I've gotten older, it's still hard. I'm such a type A personality. I come out of LA where it was very competitive, and if you didn't take the gig, you may not get the next call.
That's true.
I've never, it's funny, I saw Dave Rad a few months ago, and we were talking about the old days. I'm like, man, I always felt like if I didn't take every call you gave me out, you wouldn't, because back in the day, he'd call us all directly before he had a big staff. And he's like, man, I can't believe you thought that way. You were always on the top of the call list, whether you took the gig or not. And I just never realized that. And, my ego doesn't work that way. It's all about the work I've got and I've completed and what I got coming up.
Yeah, for sure.
So that's an ego problem I have. It drives me to probably work too much and become, put even my wife secondary. And I'm getting a little taste of it because she's doing some PRN work. And she's like, screw it, I didn't know what you're doing. So I took Saturday, Sunday. And I'm like, but we're going to go on the boat. I was taking the weekend off. And she's like, see? She fights back. But it's to get that balance is tough. And it just comes down to, you want the full-time gig at the company. Well, we're this busy right now. So now what I do, we've evolved. So, July is slow. After 4th of July, I'm going to Alaska with the wife for a week. Went to Australia with my mom back in February or January and saw the Australian Open. So I start making these other plans. In my life, dates don't matter. And that's a rule I have. So Mom didn't like the date change on Mother's Day, though. She's getting older. She's getting a little grumpier. And she whipped me into shape on that one. But, like my birthday was the 11th, and, we didn't celebrate till the 20th. And, you just have to be flexible because that's just what our work is. Look at springtime. I mean, here in Texas, that springtime is everything. And then fall is everything. And then dead point in the summer, dead point in the winter. So I try to focus on those times to really say, no, look, I'm taking a week off. I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and make those plans and stick to them.
Okay, cool. So we talked about this a little bit too, is what do you think about, elaborate a little bit? I know you have some personal history of this. the entertainment industry and its relationship with excess, drugs, alcohol, that can obviously also lead into sex, not sleeping, not eating,
right.
like all of those things that you don't think about when you're 20, but they
right.
catch up to you.
Yeah. No, and we've seen some recent loss. It's been terrible.
Yeah.
And the business is no stranger to loss. I mean, the past few years especially. And I remember when Kurt Cobain died. Unless you've really, if you take, you'll see a lot of shout outs on Facebook with my friends going, man, if you need help, you've got to ask. You don't realize how isolated you are on the road. Having my time as a tour manager with several different artists, you're stuck at the hotel and, you're stuck away from your friends and your family. Sometimes you're in such a weird time zone, you can't even call and talk to anybody.
Yeah.
And you're just talking to people who want nothing but something from you, and you got some guy like me, tour managing you, getting you point A to point B. And you got these people fooling you. I mean, man, when I worked with STP and I worked with Tommy and these rock guys, and even back, you just see people blowing so much smoke up their ass all the time.
Yeah.
You're living in this weird world, so I can see how these band guys, first of all, some drugs and alcohol can come out of boredom. And a way to kill the boredom, way to keep the party going all night. Anybody, I don't care who you are, take enough of any drug, you're going to become addicted. It's why we have the opiate problem now, because we're prescribing these gnarly drugs to just anybody for any length of time. So now you're becoming an addict, even though you weren't an addict. You had no drug-seeking behavior, but we made you that way. So you got these guys that have nothing else but time to kill or whatever, and it just becomes that escape from that little bit of reality. A lot of pressure on those guys coming up, and then the isolation sets in, They start not wanting those people that want to blow smoke up their ass, but they've lost those friends because they've been touring and now they're rock stars and people get real fake around them and just want to be there because they're of who they are.
Yeah.
I've had some opportunities to, being sober now, going to some AA meetings that were behind closed doors and locked gates and, people.
Was that hard for you to make the choice and the realization of hey, I need help? What was that like?
Well, I had a friend of mine, Andy, so a little shout out to my boy, Andy W., who works for us now because he came to Texas here, but it's really good that, as much as something like Alcoholics Anonymous says anonymous, and that's what we're supposed to be, that a certain amount of people know. Because I can't tell you how many people have said, hey, man, you kick drugs and alcohol. My brother-in-law is trying to reach out and do something, and I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be open enough that people can come to you. And that's what Andy was for me. I knew he was sober. I knew he'd be successful. He's been sober 31 years now. And he took the long road with me. I was too stupid when I got sober. I didn't know I could go into some rehab or anything. So I'm trying to swing a hammer, fix these properties I'm involved in, and all this stuff. And the problem with drugs is man, I get 20 and want to go back out. I get a job and get a check and I want to go celebrate. It really messes with your head. So, but what inevitably happens is you start using the drugs, you become isolated. And I don't care if you're a rock star where everybody wants to hang with you, or the technician, or the dudes we see flying sides,
analyst.
Or business analyst, whoever.
Yeah.
The story is always the same. They become isolated.
Yeah.
And that isolation, I think a lot of times is what kills. And when you're so isolated, the drugs and alcohol are going to tell you, it takes over, and it's going to tell you don't need help, you don't need this. Those people, it's going to tell you whatever it needs to hear for you to get to the next drug. It's amazing now that I can look back at those behaviors that I've had, that so many people that I know that have also kicked drugs and alcohol. We all talk about that isolation and that voice in our head, that it's we call it play the tape through.
Yeah.
So it sounds really good to get, a bottle of vodka and some drugs and hit the hotel and whatever, get some people over. And, what happens in 4 days, you're alone. You never invited the people because you don't want to share none of the drugs or alcohol. You're in some hotel across the Eagle there. And you inevitably have to come out of that room and you're hungover and you're broke and nobody wants to talk to you, and it's just horrible. And you put the pressure on. I don't want to level any actor or rock star to any special importance, because the disease hits everybody.
Yeah.
And I don't care if you're a mother of 4 that got hooked on Vicodin or, Chris Cornell with the heroin. You're going to go to the same place.
Yeah.
And it's harder, I think, for the rock star to reach out in some ways because there's so many fake people around them.
Yeah.
I've known plenty. And, people are going to tell them, they're going to blow more smoke up their ass. The mother of 3 talking about being hooked on Vicodin and having to go to a local detox is probably going to get a more real story than Chris Cornell heading to Hazleton for $1 million a day, where they're going to coddle them. And, again, there you are with a bunch of bullshit around you. Some of the guys that I've gotten to know that have been on the higher tier like going down to, the local, they ring the bell outside of stores to collect money.
Salvation Army.
So Salvation Army does, they have a religious affiliate. However, they take anybody, any walk of life, no matter where you are. They'll get you a bed. They'll help you get cleaned up. They'll help you get a job.
Yeah.
They're out there. They're doing the dirty work.
Yeah.
And for no money. Off those quarters you're throwing in as you walk into Target.
Yeah.
People find it a little more real there. There's places like in Corpus, Charlie's place. My dad got sober at a place in Costa Mesa. I mean, it was just a house, dirt all around it, little house. Dudes were stacked 5 high in bunk beds, detoxing off alcohol. And those are some of the most real places because you're just at the bottom. You're broke.
Yeah.
There is no second chances when you're at some of these spots.
Yeah.
And it's hard because Music Cares and because I've done some benefit work for Music Cares and some other organizations, Ham and down in Austin. All these places are trying to help, but it's still cunning and baffling. You know?
How do you take it from being a reactive issue, where it's like somebody dies or gets hurt, or to being proactive, like it's like you said, like reach out. You know,
it's more proactive now. The problem with drugs and alcohol is it's hard to quit it if you're not at your bottom saying, I want to quit.
Yeah.
I have a desire to quit drugs and alcohol. And it's not until you really get there. Because, I would get 3 months sober, go back out, get 4 months, go back out, 9 months, lost a nice job. And each time it was like, hey, I just got to get my life back together. This stuff just took me sideways for a minute.
Yeah.
Let me get my, that's that voice. No, man, you just need to get a couple paychecks, pay a few bills, get some people off your back, and everything's going to be fine. And it gets that way. You take the drugs and alcohol out, your life will get better. Yeah. One way or another, it will. And it's what you do in that time period. That's why things like, going to meetings or finding that support group, trying not to be centered into how I run it. But it's just important to get with it. The therapeutic value of one addict or alcoholic working with another is bar none and better than any rehab if you're ready. Yeah. And that's the biggest problem with the drugs, is trying to get to where you're ready.
Yeah. Do you think that your industry and the employers have a responsibility to actively check in or reach out to some of these guys that, with the artists, I would think especially, because they're your moneymaker at the end of the day, right?
Right, and people have tried everything. Sober companions, that's what my buddy Richard Cole was doing for a long time after he left Crazy Town. He was a sober companion for Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. Just being there, being that stone with these guys, to just have somebody around that's not blowing that smoke, that is, hey, I need to get to a meeting, or hey, I just need to get out of here and clear my head. Somebody, I don't want to say counselor, but just somebody you can say, hey, and that person has that authority to say, hey, you know what? Hey, somebody like Robert Downey Jr., he's done for the next hour and a half. We got to clear our heads, and everybody can screw yourselves. Yeah. Because, think somebody as successful of an actor as he is after he cleaned his act up. What pressure is that guy under? Yeah. What pressure is these rock stars under playing I don't care if it's 1,000 or 10,000 people every night. Yeah. Hey, the pressure is great. Yeah. And sober companions have been very successful. But it's hard. You get out there on that bus out in the middle of nowhere. You get to where, the party, everybody's inviting you to here and there, and, you start getting bored again. And that starts sounding good. That's where that sober companion, making sure you got something to do, or, hey, you know what, now we're into eating healthy and hitting the gym after the show. Yeah. I've seen a lot of different ways where people are trying to change that behavior and direct that behavior. And I've also seen it where a tour manager comes in, clears all the alcohol backstage, and they're fighting to keep that guy from finding that drink. You know, they're not letting anybody they don't know. They're keeping it clean backstage.
Yeah.
It's they're trying. They're trying. And a lot of people are putting in a lot of good effort. But is
that something you've seen with your guys since you've taken over and managing a lot of? I mean, there's a lot of guys that come in and out of a contract company.
Right.
Is that like something you've seen with guys that stick around or like
it's hard. I mean, you've been around, you've seen there's people that, I mean, we're seeing a new stage of marijuana, where it's becoming legal everywhere. And it's still a drug. I support the here's my shout out. I support it being legal.
Yeah.
Just that because we have to take it head on. I think alcohol is far worse than marijuana ever was.
Yeah.
But that way we can control, regulate, and tax, and that tax money can go to funding those help programs.
Yeah.
I mean, everything's so expensive. You don't have insurance. Half the places that say rehab aren't going to take you.
Yeah.
So you're stuck with the Salvation Armies and the Charlie's places and the self.
Yeah.
Self, what do you want to call it? Funded clinics.
Yeah.
To take those people without any money. I think I got sidetracked there. But yeah, I mean, it seems that our business is more tolerant than it should be of drug use and, really drug use. Because, I mean, alcohol, eventually you get drunk, but a lot of drugs you can function to a better part. But, it's going to impair judgment sooner or later.
Yeah, for sure. So that kind of wraps with that whole thing. We talked about work-life balance, suicide and entertainment. We talked about that, how that's a thing, and mental health. So from that and with all these things that kind of happen and that are, you're almost at more risk than if you were in another career with all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't see the guy at DMV having an artist go, hey, man, can you hook me up?
Yeah.
Or a stagehand going, hey, look what I got. You want to do something real quick?
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of that in our business.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate to say that, it's rampant. I don't think I've been on a job site where I could say everybody was sober at the moment.
Yeah.
So, I think, you're not getting, but I don't know, this day and age with pills, and the way they're prescribing pills, that lady working the DMV counter, that guy, could very well have a Vicodin habit we don't know about, or an Oxycontin habit we don't know about. And it's hard because you're also seeing, it's one thing to say, oh, yeah, you worked in rock and roll all your life, and of course, now you had your bout with drugs and alcohol. But then you see this lady who's done nothing but raise 5 kids, have a job, and do right by her family is all of a sudden addicted to Oxycontin because she got a back injury.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, that wasn't by choice. I can tell you every time I've done drugs, that was by choice.
Yeah.
I wanted to do that.
Yeah, I think
drug.
that's really fair. I think
drink.
especially with the opioid, I think part of it for sure, that's definitely an issue. And I think the isolation, like you said, goes, I think there's not like a place of like, with kids, you think about like, was it Dare? Dare was a drugs and alcohol thing, right?
Yeah.
I think with all of that,
Mad. There's plenty of them.
Yeah. And all of those programs, it's like with the kids, when they're in grade school, it works out pretty well.
Right.
Because they build this hype around it and it's cool and you want to be part of the drug-free club.
Right.
But then it's like, once these kids get into middle school and all these other things, it's like, it's black and white. It's like, I'm the bad kid that tried drugs or I'm the good kid that didn't.
Right.
But there's no in between to like, I feel like say that, people use drugs because they feel good or they make them feel some sort of way. They escape. They're a coping mechanism.
Right.
Like, I think just the sustainability of anything is like what you have to look at. Is like, you can drink one time your sorrows away,
right?
And it's not going to kill you,
right?
But it's how you get into that. If I say, "Hey, I'm having a bad day," and I come talk to you, no matter how many times I do that, that's not going to put me in the hospital.
Right.
I'm not going to lose a job because of it. Like, I think that's the slippery slope.
And it's
on all
hard
that.
because let's not discount that there are people who can go out and have a few cocktails, or tie one on, and wake up the next day and it's over.
Yeah, that's true.
And I don't ever want to discount. A lot of people. Like I was at the hotel with a couple of the guys last night, or not the hotel, but the Airbnb with a couple of the guys. They bought a 6-pack. I laughed because they had 2 beers, fell asleep.
Yeah.
In my
Does that
world,
stuff ever tempt you anymore?
Nah,
No?
that's not who I am anymore.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say I don't need to maintain my sobriety, my spiritual fitness, and the things that go into, because you see some of the crud I deal with.
Yeah.
That's why I like to rely. I'm a big. I go to my meetings, I do my stuff, I get spiritual, I get down to earth.
Yeah.
And it gets harder as I get more successful to find that time. Wife, job, running up here 3-4 days a week, yada, yada, yada. It goes on and on.
Yeah.
And it's real easy for that to take a back seat. And that's something I fight today in my life, is not allowing that recovery to take that back seat.
Yeah.
Because it's, I had to take in the bad side of stuff. I had to let a guy go who was 55 years old because he's, we got rid of a portion of the company where it was like, hey, this isn't really working out. We don't want to continue this. And I had to let a really good guy go. And he's 50, actually, I think he's 60. He's not looking at a lot of places hiring.
Yeah.
And it fell to me to have to give him the bad news that we closed that side of the business. And that hurt me more than a lot of the other stuff I have to deal with on daily. That night I hit a meeting. I was on with my sponsor and I'm with my wife, calling my buddy Andy and letting people know. That's why you got to get that routine in, because I knew how I was feeling. I knew how dangerous that was. Immediately tattletale. I got to call somebody. Let
you
somebody
gotta reach out.
Let them know this is how I'm feeling and this is what I'm doing about it. And just somebody that take that ear for a minute. And that's even in sobriety with all these tools I have. But man, that messed me up.
I think that's super important. Like what you said is like, when you know how to, it takes a certain amount of like self-awareness and strength to reach out. And I think before that is like, having somebody that reaches out to you. And I think when you get to that spot, I think it's very important to reach back out to anybody that you can and say, hey, are you good? Or how did that hit you?
And it's hard, because it was easy to go to Andy because I knew he'd been through what I'd been through. And he zero judgment. And when that voice is talking to you in that head, it's offering that help with no judgment. You don't want to walk up and say, man, I've seen how much drugs you're doing. You need to get sober. You're not going to win anybody over. Hey, man, I know you're in a bad spot. I'm here. And that's what gets somebody coming around to say, hey, man, what's up? This is how I'm feeling. I'm in bad shape. Help me find me a bed somewhere. And that non-judgment really helps coy that voice, because that voice is telling that addict or that alcoholic that you're not there to help me. You're only there to take something from them, which is the drugs and alcohol. That's what you're there for. Let me help you get off this shit and kick it.
So moving on from all that, I think we've talked a little bit about, just real quick, we'll briefly go over, we talked about the industry changing some, and I think we talked about that kind of in music and going more towards concerts. Is there anything that like you predict or see or would like to see the industry go in terms of technology, people, and then also like business wise, like as a commodity, like is it changing? Is it getting more? Is it stayed the same? Like,
one of the problems that I've had in the years that I've done this is the prices aren't going up for the end provider, for the sound company, the lighting company, the production house is still fighting for every dollar they get. Because again, a new startup is going to get out there, get a loan for the gear, do whatever they can to get their share of the market. That's the American way. So it really hurts when you look at the industry as a whole. It does start to hurt that there's. I don't want to call it any price fixing. It's not very American, so to speak, or very capitalist. But when you get that entrepreneur out there undercutting everybody, that's hurting what I can pay my people. It's hurting the income of the company I work for, which is neither here nor there. It's hurting the ability to give benefits. A lot of stuff. So that competitive is hard. And, like where I work and the kind of companies I've already that I've always worked for is always been based on volume. It's really hard. You and I have discussed, companies like VER, PRG, the rental prices that they're charging us as the end provider for that equipment they don't have. It's like everybody's ripping off a pound of flesh, but nobody's giving any. And, everybody's got a couple of those high profit clients, but trying to find that balance, it's like by driving the pricing down, by giving the promoters the ability to shop around and, sometimes $5,000 and $6,000. Sometimes finding somebody just doing the job because their loan payment for the gear is due tomorrow. These guys will search for that.
Yeah.
That hurts everybody. And, like you and I have talked about, having a classroom at the shop where we can do some of that training and spend that money to make it, like you're saying, the Target example. Say, okay, let's have some training. Let's get this all tightened up so it's one mass connector, two mass connectors, everything works. That we need the money to do that. And when we're fighting against always getting beat for that bottom dollar, it hurts. So I'd like to see in some way the price, there be some kind of way that without destroying the business model and not destroying opportunity, that we could get into something where there's a little more profitability in the business, because it's not just an audio company, lighting company, staging company. Everybody's coming at, and all you're doing is going to end up being a bunch of one-off business owners with no employees, with no training, no benefits, no anything. Or, VER, but look, they just went bankrupt and had to be bought out by PRG. At what, there's got to be some way to stabilize our business. And I think that's going to come from, as we've gotten these schools together, regulations like in LA, it's very competitive. However, because it's not a right to work state, because there's a weigh station on every corner, because OSHA shows up to concerts, because safety officers from the fire department show up to every show, because of all this regulation, you can only get so cheap. Same in New York, Chicago, some other major cities, that I don't believe in regulation, but it's going to be needed. Simply, here's an example you'll understand, not necessarily the listeners, but we loaded a truck, one of the big 24-foot trucks, with some staging to go to Colorado the other day. We ran out of weight in 1/3 of loading. So, I had 2/3 of that truck left, almost 18 feet of truck empty to meet that weight requirement. So what do I got? I've got a competitor truck going across the state lines, fully loaded, 40,000 pounds in a 26,000 pound truck, driving that price down.
Yeah.
So now I've got to run a truck illegally, unsafe, to meet the standard. Just like we're talking, you leaving at 4 a.m, because there's no money for you to drive the night before, get a hotel, night sleep, load in at 7 a.m, go back to the hotel after the gig. And, I'd like to see us not get treated better than these guys who tie dogs to a tree. Yeah. And sometimes I feel that we're treated that way.
Do you feel like you have to, you were talking about with Greg before, do you have to do those gigs now?
I personally don't, but I sent another guy to do them.
But that's what I'm saying. Does the company still have to do those gigs? You said you were afraid to say no to that gig.
That is a problem of mine, and there is a fear of allowing too many of those gigs to open up, that your competitor will now be on your level. So you have some of that's just strategic to keep your competition at bay. How long did I do midnight rodeos for? Pretty much till they closed, but that was a strategic move for two reasons. One was money, keep the competition down, but going back to my training ground where I could send younger engineers to cut their teeth. So there's also that about those lesser gigs. I don't want to say lesser, every gig's important, but some of those lesser paying gigs that may not be up to snuff is a great place for those younger engineers to go get that experience. I think what's hard is that when you've got 3 gigs a week that you do, is 2 gigs you make good money on, you got a 50% profit margin. Let's say you make $10,000 with both gigs on there. And then you got the third gig that you're just trying to keep the other guy out that's got a negative margin. You're losing $2,000 on. But at the end of the week, you still make $8,000. I think that's a universal tactic. Well, Walmart does it. You know that Walmart moved all the bread and milk to the back of the store and put negative profit margin items at the front just to get you to walk all the way back, because they knew all you needed was bread and milk. Right.
And Sam Walton pioneered that idea of a negative margin and getting people to walk back there, because he's like, I'll take the hit here and I'll make all the money on the milk and the eggs. I've never walked out of there with the $8 that I intended on spending. Exactly.
That's the truth. That's why I don't even go in there anymore.
But it's hard when you've got 50 shows a week. And how do you collect and look back at all the data and say, where am I losing, where am I doing, and what's worth it, at that point?
And that's what we're working on now. And, I've had some offline discussions about that. Okay,
so going off of that, 3 last things on the industry, and then we'll get on current first quick, is who do you think is adapting and doing really well as companies out there right now in this industry? And then the last thing is just any advice or tips you have to guys out there, girls out there trying to get in.
Well, who's adapting really well? I mean, I think to some degree we are in the special event side of our business. People are looking for turnkey, and that's something we've done pretty darn well. If you look at touring, I think 8th Day has done really good. But my favorite company is Sound Image in Southern California.
Okay, shout out to Sound Image.
Dave Shadone's the owner over there, and I remember talking to him back in the 90s.
Do they still have Taylor Swift?
I'm not sure.
Didn't they have her for a second?
Yeah.
And Jonas Brothers, yeah?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, they've had everybody. And I like Dave's approach to it because he was one of the pioneers of Vertec and carbon fiber. Mm-hmm. That was actually his design. He just decided, he saw which way the wind was blowing. He'll just buy whatever PA a major artist wants. Doesn't matter. And it's like, I like that. He's big enough to do it. Not everybody can do it. But instead of shoving a brand down your throat, he's saying, come to me. I've got it all. Yeah. Whatever you want, we'll design it for you. Yeah. I'm sure on the other end that I don't see is, well, you got to have it out for a year. You got to do this. You got to do that. But I really like the approach he's taken. It's just all black cases full of stuff. And which one do you want? Mm-hmm. And I think that's he's the pioneer in that. And I think we're going to see that more. We're either going to see it more or we're going to see it less as, it used to look like Meyer and EAW. Now it looks like D&B and Acoustics. Mm-hmm. Who knows?
It was PV at one time.
It was PV at one time too. Yeah. And if the Mark 8 comes back, I'm going to want 9 of those to rent out. Because I don't care anymore. I don't have an ego. I just want to see it. I want to see the work come in, and I want to see us all be successful. Yeah. I mean, you've been around me long enough. Even with my major competitors, I can shout them all out right now. Yeah. I never talk negatively about them. Yeah. Because they're all good companies. They're all out there trying to do good work and supply good service. Yeah. It's just finding our way to be more unique and have our niche that, So,
and tell your story, as they say, what your story is.
And what was the other one? I'm sorry.
What advice or tips do you have for girls out there at any age that want to get into this?
At a certain point, worry about experience more than the paycheck. And that is saying, I don't care if the club gig pays $50 for the day for the hand. If you're not doing anything, go do it.
Okay.
Grab that experience. Okay. Because when you come to the spot where they pay the money, you're gonna want that experience to demand the money, and you also just don't want to pass up. I miss, and I meant to say this earlier. Man, we've been rolling.
We're rolling.
But I meant to say this earlier is one thing I miss. I used to do Soma down in San Diego, and that's where Blink played. Blink to Static X to Machine Head.
Soma, large music festival down there. Yeah.
No. 1,000-seat venue, all ages, sold no alcohol. It was beautiful. It's just like it was as cool as Warped Tour was when it started. $20 tickets. Dollar waters. That whole vibe of just getting the kids a safe place to go enjoy a punk rock show back then, and I miss that energy from those types of venues that we just don't exist anymore. It's, a guy named Lynn used to own Soma, back when Paul owned Golden Voice outright and they're the big promoter in LA, there was this feeling of just this energy, these venues, and it really made you feel like you were involved. Yeah. And you don't want, I know those venues still exist. It's just not what they used to be, but you don't want to miss those experiences. And I'm trying to get a point across. I don't think I'm making it, but they don't pass those experiences up because you don't like the paycheck. Mm-hmm. You don't want to sign up to the cheap gig for the rest of your life, but go do it. Yeah. Go do it a few times. Don't do it if it's unsafe or anything like that. Yeah. But we all know the venue that pays $50 or $100 or whatever. Hey, just go work it a few times. It's just not going to hurt you to do that on a Tuesday night. Yeah. Get that experience. Okay. That CD player rental was free.
CD player rental, yeah.
I just gave it because I thought it was cool.
Yeah. The first CD, Jay.
So, just get out there and get that experience any way you can, especially if you're young. And that way, all you're doing is putting more tools in the tool bag for when the opportunity to do better goes. And you never know who you're going to meet at some little street festival, like that little gig I did, Meet and Dros.
Yeah,
you know,
it's true.
Who wants to go do South by Southwest at some corner lot?
No one wants to do South by Southwest ever.
but it got me a gig. You know, you just never know when the opportunity is going to be there, especially in our business. I mean, Tommy Trio, Danny Trio. His story is great to listen to. He's pretty open about being in recovery. He was sitting at home, got a call from a guy who just didn't want to drink. Shows up, the guy's a caterer in a movie set, didn't want to go. Just one of those midnight phone calls for a drunk. And he ended up there, and the director of the movie said, "Man, how do you look at some prison blues?" And that's how he started his gig. He just showed up to help a guy. Then he put on some prison blues and the orange jumpsuit and did a fight
Danny
scene.
Trejo?
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
Did a fight scene. Did I say his name wrong?
You said Drio. I was like, who is this guy? Yeah. Danny Trejo. Yeah.
So, his story is really cool. Look it up. But so then it was one fight scene. He did the fight scene so well, he got hired as a choreograph.
Okay.
Another fight scene on another movie set, and then somebody liked the way it just domino affected.
Yeah. So that's saying be at the right place at the right time. Just be at any place, and it'll become the right time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. Just a little bit about current affairs, really quick.
Sure.
So current administration, talked very briefly about that. Trump administration, North Korea. What do you think about that? Like, is it fluff? Is it the real deal? Is it a good thing?
I don't know. And I've been so busy the past few days, I haven't kept up on it. I mean, the only thing I've seen is a meme.
Yeah.
That's been my news lately. I'm hoping, for the love of God, that, I'd like to see North Korea come into the fold of humanity.
Yeah.
It's just been I don't want to say anything overly negative, but it's been a dictatorship and a closed border for so long, and the people there could really use them coming out into the free world. One of the things I want to go to this winter is I want to go to China. Mm-hmm. China's seen a industrial revolution, and I think if if North Korea opens up a little bit, just a little bit, they're going to see that same revolution happen there as well. We've seen it in many other countries in our lifetime, even Vietnam, Taiwan, and they all start the same way, get into the manufacturing, and then they come up. And I think North Korea is posed if their leader is willing to open that gate. And this is the most open they've been since the Korean War. So I'm history's only going to tell what the current administration has pulled off.
Is the Trump administration all bad? All good?
Okay, so quick story. When I first saw him start to float around, I thought, you know what? I'm going to vote for that guy.
Okay.
And this isn't this. It was 2 elections ago. He was kind of floating around and he was flirting with the idea.
Yeah.
I said, you know what we really need? We need some kind of a douchebag who says I'm a douchebag. I don't know any Show me one. Obama was a pretty classy dude.
Yeah.
And, he might be the exception to the rule because, Clinton, he wasn't very classy. I mean, we all know what he was doing behind closed doors. He got caught.
Yeah.
We also know that some of the politics were a little dirtier than we would like.
Yeah.
But I think
did make some progress in a lot of things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think some politics have to be dirty.
Okay.
But just dirty in that, you're dealing with many other countries, many personalities. You have to horse trade. Look at, I don't want to get too far off topic, but look at, Obama got health care through. Unfortunately, his plan, I read his book. I was, first African-American president, you bet you.
Yeah.
You bet your ass. I was reading his book. I was looking at his history, and I was all about it. And I'm still all about it. And I've been traditionally a conservative, although I've never voted that way.
Okay.
Yeah, I hope my mom's not listening. So anyhow, and I can't really look back on any of the conservative guys and see they all have their moments. Mm-hmm. And I think, Clinton had his moments, but I think Obama was pretty classy all the way through. And I think he tried, the whole thing, he had that beer with the guy. I forget what that was all about. I was just thinking about this the other day. He sat out in the garden, had a beer with the regular Joe, and the guy called him out, and he said, no, come on down, talk to me.
Let's
the
talk
guy
about
was a jerk, but he still he was trying new stuff.
Yeah.
And he was doing, and so did Clinton. Clinton tried some new stuff to appeal to us. You know, Clinton was great because I was quite young. I think I voted for Clinton. Again, hope my mom's not listening. Anyhow, I don't know what Trump's going to do. I was hoping he was going to be, on one aspect, I like the tweets. Everybody's going to talk shit about it.
Okay.
But for the first time, when he tweets, there's nobody in between us and what he's tweeting.
So you feel like connected?
For better or for worse, we're connected.
Okay.
I mean, some of the stuff he has said is crazy, and it's like, oh man, you represent me out there.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree with that. However, I hope that's a fad that stays with other presidents.
Yeah. Okay.
Better or for worse, because we don't have some speechwriter, we don't have some guy, anybody in any kind of power.
So you think the tweets are him?
Let's not. I'm hoping. For better or for worse. Again, I'm hoping because I'm hoping we see that kind of connectivity. In the future. I was dead set against it with rock stars. Everybody thinks this rock star is supposed to be available, whether it's through Facebook, whatever, and meet you at the show and meet you for free and take your time and me. But some kind of broad general way that I don't think there's a speechwriter in between me and the president or me and my congressman or me It's kind of, unfortunately with him, it's not refreshing, but it's this thing that I'm kind of digging, and I hope it goes that way.
Okay.
I'm not a fan. I was hoping to be. I was hoping he'd be so rich and so nonchalant about the political side that he could just be real brass tacks with other world leaders.
Yeah.
And we all know he's into Playboy centerfolds and hookers and whatever. We knew that
before.
We knew that before. So it's not news on his morals, okay? That's why I liked him. But
as
he's
a president,
douchebag.
He changed from, the fact that he is a president now he's got a PR. Is it a PR issue or it shouldn't matter? You've got the evangelicals saying like, oh, well, he's just a man. But then when Barack Obama was in, they were like, how dare he?
Right. And I just, unfortunately, I've defriended a lot of people on social media because I get tired of pros and cons for anybody. It's like, man, I'm just so tired of hearing your fake news article. And, and I hate to drop his term of the fake news, but how much news do you, I've clicked the article.
He's trademarked fake news. Yeah.
But, news that's not exactly accurate, whether it's about him or anybody else, is old. It's like, come on. You're just, there seems to be today that I got somebody on my Facebook who thinks being an activist is sharing all these articles that aren't very fact checked. And I've got them on both sides. And finally, I just said, I'm done because you're not helping me stay informed. You're not changing my mind. I'm reading your article, then I Google something and it's completely wrong.
Yeah.
Like not to use a Trump one, but so they said Trump was getting down on the people in Texas and Houston who donated their boat to help the recovery effort. He never said that. What he said was the people who went out in the hurricane on their ships to enjoy the show that the U.S. Coast Guard ended up rescuing are idiots, or however he said it, which they are. You're a boater who has a private yacht and you're going to go out in the open ocean during a hurricane? You get whatever's coming. But he also didn't say anything positive about all the people that took their personal boats and was helping the U.S. Coast Guard get people off of roofs. Yeah. But they used that again, and it's like, man, and I see him doing it on other people, and everybody's just, it's not about the art. I mean, it's almost like the content doesn't matter anymore. It's like some weird headline that everybody's sharing. That's, anyway.
Climate change.
Yeah. There's another one. But anyhow, not a Trump supporter, but he's one of those things where I can't wait for history to tell his story. Yeah. What did he do? Is he going to end up doing anything good? Is the thing in North Korea going to be something that he actually pulls off? And it's like, you know what? If he doesn't do anything else that's too drastic that destroys the country, he actually did do something worthwhile in his presidency. Obama did several things. I can keep going back to the healthcare because it's what a great idea that got so smashed by special interest. Yeah. And it wasn't special interest.
Yeah. Well, it was version 1 and never got to go to version 2.
Well, was
Or
version 1 what we wanted, and what we got was version 132 after everybody got their hand in it.
Yeah.
Is what I think happened. So
it's a tough thing. Moving on from that, school shootings, gun control, mental health. Can we do anything about it? Is it just the way things are now?
I wish I would have finished my degrees, because we've become so. What I don't have the information on is, I came out of a pretty stern childhood with my authority figures. Teachers could, I wasn't ever at a school where teachers could spank you, but a word from the teacher to your mom, no, they did not want that to happen in my house.
Yeah.
My neighbors, my friend's mom, calling my mom, oh my God, no way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, that was legit fear, and I'm wondering if today we don't have, have we become so light-handed that there's no fear of consequences, and people get so hurt that they feel that doing something like taking a gun to a school and shooting a bunch of people, or to a movie theater, have we missed a mental health ticket, or have we not installed morals? Where are we at? And I don't have the data.
Yeah. Is it both?
It could be both. I don't know. We have a problem.
Yeah.
That needs to be solved. Is it, but how do we start by solving the problem?
Do you think banning assault rifles or anything like that, will it do nothing? Will it do something but not a lot?
Every drug I ever took was legal. And it was never hard to find. So, and that's been the case for generations.
Yeah.
So I think if you be going to guns, there's enough machine shops out there that could, there's guns out there that are Saturday night specials that are strictly made by guys in garages to hang out gangbangers and stuff to sell on the street.
Yeah.
There's guns from other countries that make it across the borders. California has done some pretty decent gun control without totally taking away the ability. Longer holding periods, mental health checks. I mean, I'm a gun owner. And the only reason I own guns is because people have told me I couldn't.
Because you live in Texas.
Yeah. No, I bought them in California too. But I'm not an avid shooter. I'm not an avid owner. I keep them locked up in a safe, and they're kind of investments. And they're kind of, you told me no, now I want it.
Yeah.
But the reality is, are we wasting money, energy, primetime news time? These are resources that every feed on Facebook or Instagram or whatever are to say screw guns. But what's that doing to help that kid that might be stewing down the street right now? Anything? I don't think so. So I think we're missing an opportunity to focus on a kid or an adult or someone who needs that mental health.
Yeah.
We have the worst healthcare system in the world, or damn near.
Most expensive, for
and
sure.
Most expensive. So, which also puts it out of reach of people that might have taken, hey, my kid's not acting right, I don't know why, but I can't afford to do anything about it. And that's where we're at. That's the honest truth. Just like me trying to get off drugs, I was too afraid because I didn't want to get in some $100,000 hole to go ask for help. Fortunately, I found other avenues. But
do you think that the gun as an identity thing inhibits being able to do new legislation or things, whether it's taking away assault rifles or not, or if it's just saying, hey, we're not taking them away, but you got to do the hold, you got to do mental health checks? Do you think, especially in a state like Texas, where it's my guns are who I am, it's not? I
also think if you're a proper gun owner, hell yeah, I want a mental health check. I want to keep these freedoms that I do have. I mean, there's also the guys who are saying, well, that's too much information to have on record about me. Well, I understand your privacy.
But
I really do.
Up for Facebook.
The problem,
But you signed up for Facebook.
Right.
Everything's there.
But, we're no longer a country of 40,000 with the English barreling down on us. We are a civilized society who does need some rules and regulations so 200 million people can live together.
Yeah.
But I think, blaming the gun and that's just an easy target for politicians and news stations. I want to go after why we don't have help for these people and why we can't spot troubled teens and troubled youth. We used to have nurses that had more power in schools to talk to parents. Now parents think they have an opinion. It's like, you're in the public school system. Nurse says your son's not, is acting out.
Yeah.
You can't even say that anymore. You know, I remember when I was a hyper child.
Yeah.
And every teacher wanted to talk to my mom, you know?
Yeah.
And they wanted to try Ritalin on me. And they wanted to try, you know, me seeing a school counselor and actually talking about stuff. And I was just hyper, you know? I had a lot of energy. You know, but now that's a disease. Daydreaming is now called ADHD.
Yeah.
Why label so much stuff instead of just, you know, we're so quick to label and so quick to label and treat something with a pill, opposed to saying, hey, you know, this kid's acting out.
Where's the time, though? Like you said with your job, where's the time?
Where is the time? But we're not talking about at a privately held company. We're talking at a school system.
But it's, you know, I think it's a lot of the same, right?
Yeah, and to a certain degree. However, the idea that a teacher or a school nurse or school counselor can no longer call a parent in and have a parent-teacher conference about your child acting out, you know, that's an early sign.
Yeah,
you know,
for
they
sure.
may be calling it right. They're just, hey, you know, your kid's hyper. And I don't know why he's not sitting still in class. And I don't know why he goes from saying, asking to borrow a book to punching a kid.
Yeah.
You know, and that poor parent might be working 2 jobs and doesn't feel they can afford some counseling, that kind of thing.
Do you think that this has really changed a lot in terms of people acting out in violence, or is it just more reported and the media is faster to get to it? I mean,
there's some of that.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, we've gone from, you know, just in my lifetime, we've gone from 50 million person country to 200 million or almost 300 now.
Yeah.
Again, if I know we're going here, I want to do a little research to grab my points.
Yeah.
But, you know, look at the growth and look at how stacked on top of each other we are now. I think, you know, one of the things I looked at in college was overpopulation and what that's going to do. And we're seeing what that does somewhat in China and Japan. And Japan has found different ways to deal with it. And I don't, you know, there was a high rate of suicide. There's, you know, we're now seeing we have a high rate of shootings.
Japan has one of the lowest birth rates in the world because people aren't getting together. They're not getting down. They're not.
Which is sad for our Japanese brothers and sisters. You know, it really is. You know, but you know, Australia went through the same thing, and I know the Australians were getting down.
The last 2 things here is Me Too. We talked about that a lot.
Yeah.
Is it a good thing? Is it overboard? And what's it like in your industry?
Man, you know, I think it went away too quick. You know, and I have these social media campaigns. They get over so quick. You know, Me Too. I saw a meme about it the other day, which brought it up in our discussion. I hadn't heard about it for a year. You know, and everybody was Me Too.
Yeah. And
then it goes away, and it's like, no, this is an everyday thing. You know, I've got to be, you know, with the ladies at the office now, I don't want to say it's sensitivity training, but it's also talking to the guys and the girls about, hey, let's start to watch, you know, because you know me, I'm a dirty joke telling, you know, innuendo having, and now that we've got 40 people in the shop, and it's time to chill that out a little bit. And it's you know, it's time for people. I think it's time for people to respect each other a little more, and realize how friendly you really are with somebody. Look at Marianne. I've worked with Marianne for 12 years.
Shout out to Marianne.
Our girl Marianne. You know, and I use this as an example with everybody is, for whatever reason, our relationship's not a huggy-touchy, even though 12 years, I mean, she's got my passcodes to my bank. She's had my checkbook. You know, it's just been that close of an environment, you know. I mean, geez, I'm surprised my wife hasn't looked at her sideways, you know. You know, but, you know, we're not hugging and touching. I don't know why, because she's hugging and touching with other people, but for whatever reason that is. You know, and I'm married now, and I tell people, as a married guy, I'm not going to be hugging and touching with my female employees. You know, high fives as far as we're going. But then again, you know, one of the girls, Nicole, come in and give Carlos a hug or something, and it's like, okay, you know what, that's fine. You know, we don't want to discourage that behavior. However, Carlos, you got to, you know, keep the hand above the waist, you know, or something. I don't know. I'm just saying it's hard because it pushes. You know, I you know, like our boy, I would say Louis C.K. You know, thought he was getting down with girls who wanted to get down, and then finds out, no, they were trying to use him as a stepping stone or afraid to say no. And it's like, holy Jesus, okay. How'd our boy not get the hint, or what happened there? Trying to use that as a more, hey, this mistake happened. What are mistakes and what are real intentions? Like that one dude, what's his name? The one that kicked it off, Weinstein, yeah, that guy burned him at the stake.
Let's be honest, Bill Cosby really kicked it off. Bill Cosby.
Right, well.
He took it home.
I mean, in the case of Bill Cosby, that's definitely an electric chair violation in my book.
He did a lot of great things, though. I think that's the hard thing is he did do a lot of good for our society, especially for people of color. There's so much he did, and millions he contributed to foundations, but he also raped a bunch of people. So,
we shouldn't be laughing. It's just.
I mean, but that's how
do you even call that one out? It does. The good never outweighs the bad, or the bad never out. I mean, it's just like, dude, you drugged and raped people. I mean, that's bad.
Yeah.
There's no way to.
Yeah.
There's no way. I don't care how good the Puddin' Pops was and how much money you raised for cancer, and it's hard. I don't think one paved the way.
Yeah, I don't think one takes away from the other. I don't think the fact that he did all this stuff changes that he, had this, largely successful black sitcom into people's homes and donate all. I don't think it changes that he probably paid the scholarships for some poor kids to go somewhere. That doesn't change that, but it also doesn't change the fact that he raped these hundreds of women. Because he did all that stuff. I don't know.
Okay.
It was millions. Millions.
To billions.
But it was a lot of people. But I don't think he doesn't get a get out of jail free card because he did all that, and vice versa. I don't think you can say that he didn't help some people out because he did bad things either,
Right. No, but it's
he's got to go to jail either way. He's toast.
It's hard because he was also very clean in his comedy and everything he did. And Fat Albert, come on, Saturday mornings was all about hey.
Yeah.
God, that's a word. That's a
first
tough one.
all black cartoon ever, and on mainstream cable network. That's huge. Yeah.
No.
How do you think you talk about this Me Too stuff to either a younger you or the older guys that are saying, "Oh, we're too PC. I shouldn't have to change anything."
You can be PC. You can be politically correct. I think it's a respect thing, and I think that's what. Okay, here's something nobody knows. My son came out to me, and I immediately called a couple of my gay friends and said, "Okay, me and my son, because of my drug use, have had a rocky road, and this means a lot to me."
Yeah.
That that our relationship's grown enough that he's trusted me, and all I want to be is supportive and caring. And my friends were laughing at me because they've known me my whole life, and I said, "Wait, you guys, you can't." Look, Chris, but he got serious, and he said, "Man, you just got to be there for him." And I'm like, he goes, "Just be honest."
Yeah.
And and first thing I want to do, my gut reaction, and you've known me long enough, was to make a joke, and I was able to express that.
Yeah.
And just, be that supportive thing. But, first thing I did is call a friend, and say, "Hey, look, I want to make this, he's opened the door."
Yeah.
And I want to be
right. Yeah.
I want to be right. I want to be, and I don't want to be the real thing. It's not just a lesbian gay community. It's, as Chris called it, my friend said, "Oh yeah, the alphabet soup." He can't stand it. As a gay man, he's my age, and he's seen his share of the negative towards the gay community. He doesn't like the alphabet soup. He's like, it's just, here we are, we're tagging everybody, and it's like, and in my world, it shouldn't be tagged. Just because you have a sexual preference is nothing. It's not. I don't. How do I say? I don't want to discount it, but I don't want it. That's not the. My buddy Chris or Jared or any of my buddies are not. They're not my gay friends or my friends.
Yeah.
And their husbands are my friends. I have more gay male friends than I do. Women.
But I think you inherently come from, your perspective is one that is inherently inclusive of that. So I think it's like, on one hand, I get what you're saying of, all the labels and all the other stuff. But if you come from an environment where you're inherently excluded, you have to make a place for yourself. And so you need the L, you need the G, you need the B. You need all that because you don't have a place, you know?
Again, not trying to discount it. It just gets so hard because, like, in this case, knowing about all this stuff and, gay, lesbian, trans, I don't care. Mm-hmm. As long as you're a good person and you're out doing the best you can, that's fine by me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be your friend, choose to be your friend or choose not to be your friend based on that. Yeah. Now, if you're a jerk, not in my life. You know, I don't need you there.
Yeah.
You're a pleasant person to be around. I want you in my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to just, I know we've got lengthy here.
Yeah.
So, but being all these labels, that's why I called my friend. I said, I don't want to offend them by calling something wrong.
Yeah.
And then he said, lead with that. Just, I'm not a PC person in the way that I know every term and I take pride in knowing every term. Because I haven't had to use those terms because I'm not labeling people.
Yeah.
Maybe gay community, but, and I'm sure there's people in the gay community that don't want to be labeled in the gay community, and I do apologize for that, but to give it much more than that is, I think, unfair. To me, it seems unfair that I got to label you as my friend.
Mm-hmm.
You're my gay friend, or you're my lesbian friend, or you're my trans friend. Why are you not just my friend?
Yeah.
And that's black, white, Hispanic, Asian. Mm-hmm. No,
I totally get what you're saying.
And maybe I'm a little old school in that, or maybe I'm not being as sensitive as I should. But I think I have the utmost, or I believe, or I feel like I'm putting out the utmost respect.
Yeah. To me, it's not any different of, as pertains to the industry, if you were to go up to a lighting guy and say, hey, sound guy, hey, stagehand.
Right.
You know what I mean? Somebody from the outside would say, why do I care? You're just a
DJ.
roadie. Yeah, you're just a DJ. You're just a roadie.
Or
But how many of people get upset when you're just like, hey, I'm not a roadie. I'm not the DJ.
Right,
I'm not your freaking DJ. You know? So I think in terms of that, when people are, especially when you're just coming out, you're not totally secure in that. So it's like, I don't care what you think or what you know about me. But it's like when you are, introducing yourself as whatever to the world, whether it's as a sound engineer or you're gay or whatever that is, like I'm telling you because I want that affirmation from you to say, hey, it's okay, you're a sound engineer, or it's okay that you're gay, and I don't care because I don't, it doesn't matter to me. But also, like, I would imagine they'd want you to, like, ask about that or know or, support who they're dating or whatever that comes into that, I would imagine.
I think there's a certain amount of, of your friends and whatnot. It's nice to know. Because what if I know, what if I know another guy that's looking to hook up?
Yeah. How can you share the love?
Or I'm completely hetero and I don't mind seeing guys cuddle, kiss, hold hands.
Yeah.
Much further than that, some of the gay events that I've done.
Mm-hmm.
Woo.
Yeah.
And it's not to say it's wrong or I think that's unnatural. It's just, that's not a...
I don't think I'd want to be at an event where there was a straight couple having sex.
Right.
I mean, that's just, I don't want to see it.
Right. Yeah. So, but, when I agree to do gay man's dance party, I also understand that's part of the gig.
Yeah.
You may see that, and I need, in that environment, to be cool with it.
Yeah.
Even if it's beyond my comfort level.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, my son coming home with, a significant other, I'm going to be fine with that. I don't want to see my son getting down, but holding hands, cuddling, being on the couch, a little kiss, a little smooch, not a problem. In the bedroom activities out in the open, come on now.
Nobody wants to see their kids do that at all.
Right. So, but it is also important for us to know that in that way that, hey, you as my gay friend inviting me over to the gay club may not be the way I want to spend my Saturday night. I just need to be mentally prepared what I'm walking into.
Yeah.
You don't want to think you're just showing up and all of a sudden everybody's in leather and it's the white party versus the black party and then we're getting down with that high energy. May not, and I'm dressed in my gray t-shirt and black shorts. I might want to be.
I think
I'm a bear. I can throw down. I
think there's degrees to that also of and like you said, if you're prepared, like there's a big gay club in Dallas Dallas called S4. That's like electronic dance, and it's gay in the sense of there's not lesbians there. It's all gay guys.
You notice that? The fellows and the ladies don't mix as often as you would think.
In Dallas, I have noticed that, and it's kind of interesting.
Same with LA.
But yeah, it's like that as well. But it's interesting because, like, if somebody wants to go there and it's like their birthday, I know what I'm getting into. And it's very, it's one of those clubs. You can go to a straight club, especially, you know, the females know this, where everybody's just bombarding you.
Right.
So it's one of those clubs that there's just all these people, shirts off, and it's just like that. Not my scene, but if it's someone's other thing, I know, hey, I got to keep my boundaries, whatever. But at the same time, you know, there's other
And
gay
I always
clubs.
say if a guy rolls up on me, at least somebody's looking.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You
maybe
gotta
get
take
a free drink out of it.
Yeah,
you know,
but I'm not gonna lead a guy on.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're trying to turn me a drink's not gonna do it.
I've done that at Starbucks before, and I have gotten hooked up with some muffins, and I had no shame.
Right.
No shame. What is a wink? Is a wink's not gonna hurt anybody, right? But yeah, some of the other, you know, clubs that are I feel like, you know, less eccentric, you know, whether they're the gay clubs or the lesbian clubs, like I've gone to several times with my friends and we've danced, hang out at the bar. It's no different than if you're at like a straight bar,
right?
You know, and it's just like if you go to a straight hip hop or rave dance club, everybody's going to be slamming their junk on you.
And
that's not a place that I want to be at unless I know, hey, I'm going here.
That you're signing up for.
So I think the same thing there. I totally agree. Moving on to the last point here, what's something that you think is important that's not getting talked about in the media, in news, or with people?
Well, I think we touched on it, that I think so much energy is being taken up by, you know, it's been good. You see how much I haven't touched it? Talking about my phone.
Yes, he just touched his phone. Air quotes.
Well, you know, I've got how many? 19 text messages while we've been here.
I like that.
But I think a lot of it is actually just the root issues. You know, like you said, you know, or like my thing is we spend so much energy on promoting negative politics or promoting, you know, gun control, opposed to promoting, hey, you know, keep an eye out for that guy that does need that help. I mean, whether it's the guns and mental health and drugs, and are we being overly, you know, there's just not a corner clinic where you can just go. I went to Cuba with Ozamali, and they have a clinic on every corner, and it's open to whether you got a cut, a scratch, you know, counselor if you've got something to talk about, or you just don't feel right.
Yeah,
it's a health clinic, both mental and physical. And when we went there, we took basic supplies: cotton balls, hydrogen peroxide, rubbing alcohol, and this is back in '90s, early '90s, before it was legal. You had to fly out of Tijuana to go there. And we don't have anything like that. You know, I was sick and I went over to the clinic, and I've got health insurance, and it still cost me $1,000 to walk into the ER. And my general care guy couldn't take me. The flu was so bad this year, and the ER was full. And I just, man, why am I in the ER for a flu, taking up something that might come in, somebody from a car, whatever.
Yeah.
So I went over there. It was $1,000. You know, and it wasn't helpful. You know, they gave me a shot and on my way, but you know, nobody's checking in with you. You know, here's your shot. We swabbed you. Out you go. Don't want to do nothing because we might get sued for malpractice.
Yeah.
And you go somewhere like Cuba where people are greeting you and asking you, honest, how do you feel today? Well, I feel sick. Well, I feel like the world's coming down on me. Or I feel you know, and we don't have that. So, you know, we've got, and we have the resources for days.
Yeah.
You know, if you just got rid of medical lawsuits for no reason, and what do you call it?
Litigation?
No, the lawsuits, they have a term for, you know, there's so many lawsuits that are just like, oh, they gave me a Motrin instead of a Tylenol.
Superfluous lawsuits.
Yeah, that take up the, you know, that take up all the...
Yeah, they just block up the legal system.
Yeah, they block up the legal system, and doctors are paying millions of dollars for coverage every year. Hospital, you know, that's why is a Tylenol $35? Well, $25 of that's going to coverage, and $5 of that's going to run the facility. You know, my wife has her own insurance on top of the hospital's insurance in case of malpractice. You know, and it's like, all she does is, well, I don't want to discount what my wife does, but she's an occupational therapist. Helps people relearn how to brush their teeth, take showers, cook food before they go home.
Yeah.
But, you know, she's still got to have malpractice insurance. What, you flipped a burger wrong, now you're at fault, you know?
Yeah.
There's physical stuff with it, too. We're so over the top with the free handout. that it's to the point of jamming up. You know, even look at a little fender bender turns into $1 million insurance. Well, some kind of
it gets crazy. Yeah,
you can't just go to the body shop and $500 exchange and, hey, sorry, my bad, I bumped into you. No, here, give me your insurance. My insurance calls your insurance. All of a sudden, I get $5,000 and my car gets fixed. Was it really a $5,000 inconvenience? So anyway, I go on about those, just the basics.
Yeah.
And that because of those not taking care of those basics, I think we're going to stunt as a society.
Yeah. So really just, I think kind of wrapping that there's checking in, like local check-ins, whether that's a local check-in with the community, local check-in with a friend, like wrapped up in the media, the headlines, all that stuff, just saying, hey. I think.
And like I said, the opportunity where a teacher or somebody might be able to reach out to a mother without fear of losing their job or the PTA coming down.
Your kid's being an asshole. Yeah. Or, hey, your kid just needs, help. Your kid's talking, there's I've got a lot of friends that do the teaching thing, and they go from the, middle class, upper class world, and they want to save the world, get into teaching, and 12 months in, they're just like, there's no way, because, they got kids that are schizophrenic, kids that bring guns to school, kids that haven't eaten or showered in days. Like, they're just like, how am I supposed to teach them how to add and subtract when I'm just trying to keep these kids fed? I'm trying to keep one from, cutting themselves in class, like,
and
that's like first, second graders. That's not high school.
Right. Like, now that's call CPS, and they take the kid, put the kid in the system, and whoa,
that's a whole nother thing. Yeah.
So
cool.
I don't have answers today for that. But.
No. Well, I appreciate you being here. Anything you want to say? Let people know what's going on with you. Shows this week. We want people to come find you. Jobs, shout out. This is your promo blast.
This is my promo blast. I'm not that kind of guy.
You're not that kind of guy?
We talked about Blues on the Green. That's been our big project. Rock Rally just ended. Carrollton's coming up. I mean, there's all kinds of events. And,
how can people find you, get a hold of you, know more about you, know more about the company? How can they find sound?
All me, the company, we're all on Facebook. I answer messages there all the time. Nothing wrong with calling or emailing Chris at millerproaudio.com, or getting us through Facebook or whatever. Walk in the front door. Give us a shout.
And where are you guys located?
We have a shop in Austin, out in Del Valley, a little further out of town, and then Fort Worth here, off of East 820 South, under the name Eagle AVL, office up in Oklahoma City, as well as our office in Lubbock that you mentioned earlier. We're always looking for fresh talent, and sometimes not so fresh talent if you've been around the block,
Awesome. Chris, Chris Warndall, Miller Pro AVL, veteran of the entertainment industry. Really appreciate you having you here.
Glad to be here.
Well, that's it. You made it to the end. Hope your drive, flight, or bathroom break was safe and enjoyable. If you like this podcast, subscribe to us on any of the major platforms: iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, YouTube, Anchor, and more. For more shows or tips and tricks on the creative and entertainment industry, do a Google search for Movement Creative or find us on any of the social platforms. As well, you can always find me, your host, on Twitter at Elijah Mora. That's ILIJAHMORA. Until next time, good morning, good afternoon, and good day.